This film is purely fictional. Please do not imitate it. Your like and subscribe are the motivation for me to update. Chapter 844. Dragon Calendar 19th Year, September 3rd, Beijing. It was already early in the morning, but there were still 40 or 50 people gathered in the conference hall of Dragon City, talking about Long Yuan's whereabouts. Damn it, if you ask me, this matter has something to do with the Emperor. That's right. In recent years, the Emperor's sanctions against us have become increasingly severe, restricting trade, raising the price of raw materials, and prohibiting the circulation of dragon coins. I think he is still determined to destroy Dragon City, so he wants to capture the young master to threaten us. I don't think the Emperor did this. With his strength, he can easily capture the young master. Why does he have to go to such great lengths? What are you talking about? Do you think we are vegetarians? If he wants to capture the young master in front of us, then I will definitely fight him to the death. Okay, what's the point of arguing about this now? If you have the time, you might as well go out and find the young master. Why is it useless? Only after we determine who did it can we arrange the next step. How can you be sure that it was the Emperor who did it? What if it was Soya Na? What if it was the Hallyu Empire? They kidnapped the young master, threw dirty water on the Emperor, and made us hurt each other. This is also very likely. You just think too much, looking back and forth. When can we find the young master back? The conference hall was filled with chaotic quarrels. Lin Mimi stood by the window, frowning and upset. My child, where are you? Report. Outside the door, Fei Ying's powerful voice instantly stunned the entire hall. The originally noisy conference hall instantly became quiet. Lin Mimi turned around quickly and looked at Fei Ying expectantly. Any news about Long Yuan? Fei Ying shook his head gently and said nothing. Seeing this, Lin Mimi's feet softened, and she stepped back a few steps and leaned against the windowsill. She bit her red lips lightly and said decisively, Look, keep looking. Even if you turn the whole world upside down, you must find him. Fei Ying stood straight and shouted, Yes. Then, he glanced at the people in the hall and said coldly, Why are you still here? Go find him quickly. A few seconds later, Lin Mimi was the only one left in the huge conference hall. Her hands were shaking slightly, and her mind was blank. It has been almost a whole day since Long Yuan disappeared. With the location where he disappeared as the center, the area within 1,000 kilometers was almost carpet searched, but no useful clues were found at all. Who is the other party? What is their purpose in kidnapping Long Yuan? Do they want money? Do they want power? Or do they want the energy in Long Yuan's body? Long Wuti, the wealth you left for our child has now become the god of death who wants to take his life. Lin Mimi murmured in a low voice. After a while, she recovered a little and teleported back to Longcheng. At this time, the sky was slightly turning up its white belly. Lin Mimi quickly came to the city lord's mansion in South City, and found Su Zurin. Sister-in-law, why are you here? Have a seat. Su Zurin, who had not slept all night, saw Lin Mimi, and quickly invited her to sit down. No need, I leave right away. Lin Mimi said softly, I came here just to ask, do you have any news about Long Yuan? Su Zurin shook his head gently. Sorry, sister-in-law, we didn't find him either. But don't worry, I have transferred all the brothers out, and we should be able to find some clues soon. Lin Mimi asked again, Xiao Luo and Xiao Nan. Can't find him either? Su Zurin's face was gloomy, but he still shook his head. I know. Lin Mimi's voice was trembling. She showed a bitter smile and said softly, Then I trouble you to pay more attention and help me find Long Yuan. Please help me, please help me. Sister-in-law, look at what you said. Su Zurin said quickly, Long Yuan is a child who grew up under our care. Even if you don't say it, we will do our best to find him. Thank you, thank you. Lin Mimi left the city lord's mansion, her back looked a little lost. Outside the 9 heavens, Xiao Luo streaked across the night sky like a meteor. I sense my sword energy on the sea of no form. Xiao Luo thought to himself, that sword should have been cut by Long Yuan. With Long Yuan's wit, plus the wooden sword carved by Xiao Luo, an ordinary 40-plus level strongman may not be Long Yuan's opponent. So Xiao Luo can be sure that among the group of people who took Long Yuan away, there must be a 45-level strongman. Long Yuan was only level 39. When facing a level 45 warrior, he didn't even have a chance to draw his sword. Even if he found a chance to strike with his sword, he might not be able to hit the target. Taking action would only anger the opponent, or even cost him his life. This fool shouldn't have taken action. I hope I can still make it in time if I rush over now. With this thought, Xiao Luo sped up again. Whoosh! A white light flashed, and a figure flew toward Xiao Luo. Xiao Nan? Xiao Luo used magic to transmit his voice. Why are you here? Xiao Nan stopped in front of Xiao Luo. Are you going to the sea of no form? Don't go, I just came back from the sea, there is nothing there. No. Xiao Luo frowned slightly, but I sense my sword energy on the sea. Xiao Nan rolled his eyes. Sword energy and so on, aren't they all the same? Maybe it was Xiao Tang who killed the beast on the sea. There is a problem. Xiao Luo stared at Xiao Nan for a while. During the day, Xiao Nan wanted to turn the primitive world upside down. Why is he so anxious now? Is Long Yuan safe? Xiao Luo asked. I don't know. Xiao Nan looked around. But fools have good luck. Xiao Long Yuan will be fine. By the way, I suspect that there is a rebellion in Longcheng. Let's go back and investigate. Xiao Luo thought for a few seconds and nodded slightly. The two fell from space and returned to Nancheng quickly. On the way, Xiao Luo suddenly said, Is Nanfeng out of retreat? Huh? The wind is too strong. I can't hear clearly. Xiao Nan increased the speed to the extreme and plunged into Nancheng. In the morning, Nanfeng yawned and walked out of the captain's room. He hadn't slept for more than 500 years, and after a short nap last night, he felt completely relaxed. It was really comfortable, and all the fatigue in my body was swept away. Practicing is not against the will of heaven, but not sleeping is really against the will of heaven. Nanfeng sighed. On the deck, Long Yuan caught 2 fish at some point, and was roasting them on the fire. Uncle Feng, are you up? Long Yuan said with a smile, I prepared some juice for you. Would you like to drink some? Nanfeng's eyes turned slightly, and saw 2 glasses of juice on the table next to him. Nanfeng walked forward and picked up one of the glasses of juice. It's not poisoned, is it? What you said, how could I poison it? I'm not afraid of poison. Nanfeng raised his head and took a big sip. Crackling. A series of sounds like beans bursting came out of his mouth. If you didn't know, you would think Nanfeng was setting off firecrackers in his mouth. What is this? Nanfeng tilted his head and looked at Long Yuan. It's an apple juice that tastes so good that it explodes. How is it? Does it taste good? Long Yuan said proudly, my Aunt Nan researched it. Chapter 845. From the taste point of view, the delicious apple juice is really delicious. If it doesn't explode, it will definitely become a popular beverage all over the world. However, success and failure are both caused by explosion. People with insufficient strength will feel their tongues numb and their teeth chattering after just a small sip, just like eating 20 kilograms of peppercorns in one breath. You must be at least level 35 to be qualified to taste such delicious apple juice. It tastes okay. Nanfeng drank 2 more mouthfuls, smacked his lips, and nodded with satisfaction. It seems that Xionan's cooking is not all dark food. You see, this apple juice is very good, much better than that seafood milk tea. Come, Uncle Feng, try my grilled whole fish. Long Yuan brought 2 fragrant grilled whole fish to the table and placed them in front of Nanfeng. Uncle Feng, I forgot to ask you last night, is your wind the wind of a good harvest, or the wind of a breeze blowing over the hills? It's the crazy madness of madness. Nanfeng picked up a roasted whole fish and started to eat it. The crazy madness of madness? Long Yuan frowned, looking puzzled. The crazy madness of madness, isn't it the wind in the whirlwind charged tornado? Hey kid, your Chinese is taught by the physical education teacher, right? Nanfeng used his greasy index finger to write the word madness on the table. Long Yuan smiled. Uncle Feng is really knowledgeable, he even knows so much about the Dragon Country characters. He doesn't look like a person from the primitive world at all. Nanfeng paused while eating the fish. Good boy, you are trying to trick your uncle again. Nanfeng said, I never said I was from the primitive world. So should I call you Uncle Nan or Uncle Feng? You should call me Uncle Shuai. Nanfeng had never thought of hiding his identity, and it was not surprising that Long Yuan could guess it with his intelligence. Uncle Nan, it's really you. Long Yuan was not particularly sure at first, but when he saw that Nanfeng did not deny it, he knew that his guess was right. Aunt Nan mentioned you to me, saying that you went into a state of seclusion not long after I was born. No wonder Aunt Nan wanted to give me the 9-layered demon tower before leaving. It turned out that you were in the tower. Speaking of this, Long Yuan stood up and bowed deeply to Nanfeng. I didn't expect that you saved my life the first time we met. Thank you, Uncle Nan. You're welcome. Nanfeng waved his hand. It's not that there is no way to save it. Even if I don't do anything, that person can't kill you. In Long Yuan's Dantian, extremely terrifying energy is stored. When his life is hanging by a thread, Xiao Nan's 3 stones will automatically unseal and let this energy burst out. Long Yuan could kill a level 45 black-clothed man with one punch. However, the price is also quite huge. Long Yuan's body cannot withstand such terrifying energy. At the least, his tendons and veins will be broken, and he will become a disabled person. At the worst, his body will explode and die waiting for reincarnation. This is why Xiaonan wants to seal the energy in his body. She is afraid that Xiao Long Yuan will not be able to control it well, and will be attacked by this energy. In this world, there are countless people who can beat Long Yuan, but there are actually only a few who can kill him. Long Yuan sat back in his chair, and ate the grilled fish silently. Neither of them spoke again. Nan Feng could see that Long Yuan was worried, and he probably had a lot of questions to ask Nan Feng. And most of these questions were related to Long Wudi. But Nan Feng didn't point it out, because he didn't know how to answer these questions. The big ship was sailing fast on the ocean, without stopping for a moment. Even Nan Feng couldn't predict where the ship would end up. So he could only wait quietly, waiting for the ship to reach its destination. "Uncle Nan, do you want to tie me up?" In the afternoon, Long Yuan suggested, "Let's act out the whole play. Maybe the person behind the scenes is somewhere invisible, watching the ship." Nan Feng shook his head. "No need. Anyone who peeks at me will be discovered by me. If even I can't find it, then there is no need for us to act." As he said that, Nan Feng pointed to the sea. "See it?" Long Yuan stared at the sea for a long time with a confused look on his face, and shook his head. "What's there?" "There's a beast staring at us underwater, probably looking for an opportunity to attack us." Nan Feng patted Long Yuan on the shoulder. "Go down and deal with it." "This?" Long Yuan's mouth twitched slightly. "What level of beast is it? Can I do it?" Nan Feng said calmly. "It's a level 11 beast." "No, Uncle Nan, if you want to eat fish, just say it directly. Why go around in such a big circle? Can I not catch it for you?" Long Yuan jumped into the sea with a leap of faith, and dived deep into the sea. After a while, the sea began to surge, and the waves hit the hull heavily. Long Yuan popped his head out, and shouted, "Uncle Nan, you are lying. This is obviously a level 41 beast." Nan Feng laughed. "I didn't lie to you, I said, a level 41 beast." Long Yuan rolled his eyes. "You can't tell the difference between flat tongue and curled tongue. Did the physical education teacher teach you Chinese?" Nan Feng snorted. "If you trust others easily, you will suffer a great loss sooner or later. You must remember this lesson well." "Long Yuan, you..." Under the water, a level 41 great white shark bit Long Yuan's calf, and dragged him to the bottom of the sea. Long Yuan held his breath, and pulled out the wooden sword from the storage bag. Swish! Before he could hold the wooden sword firmly, Nan Feng on the boat waved and took it away. "You can use weapons, but not such strong weapons." Nan Feng's voice reached Long Yuan's ears. "Relying too much on external forces will only make you stop. Without this wooden sword, you can still kill the enemy." Long Yuan was so angry that he wanted to curse. He was only level 39, and he didn't even have a contract with his life-defining magic weapon. Now even his wooden sword was taken away. How could he fight this great white shark? However, Long Yuan knew that complaining was the most useless thing in the world. He took out a stone stick from his storage bag, pried open the mouth of the great white shark, and pulled out his leg. There was a row of deep teeth marks on his calf, and the blood kept flowing, dyeing a large area of sea water red. The surrounding beasts smelled the blood and swam over like crazy. Drive away the wolf, and swallow the tiger, maybe there will be a glimmer of hope. Long Yuan knew that he could not kill the great white shark by himself. So he quickly determined the tactics and began to swim quickly in the sea water, shuttling back and forth between the beasts. After a while, a beast was injured, and the bloody smell from the wound further stimulated the bloodiness of other beasts. The beasts began to kill each other, and Long Yuan took advantage of the situation. Soon, the great white shark was already covered with wounds, and fled to the depths of the ocean with its tail between its legs. When Long Yuan resurfaced, the ship had sailed far away. Nan Feng, standing on the deck, laughed happily. At first, he couldn't understand why Long Wudi wanted to keep the child even though he knew he might lose his life. Now, he vaguely understood. This is inheritance. The civilization of Longwa has been passed down for 5,000 years, not relying on a certain generation, but on every generation. If the youth are strong, the country will be strong. This is the meaning of inheritance. Chapter 846. Late at night, Long Yuan grilled 3 large squids, steamed 2 king crabs, and stewed a large pot of seafood soup. "Uncle Nan, come and try my cooking skills." Long Yuan served the dishes with good color, aroma, and taste to the table. "It looks good." Nan Feng tasted a few bites and nodded with satisfaction. It tastes good too. You are the young master of Longcheng. How can you cook? Long Yuan smiled and said, well, when I was young, my mother was afraid that I would get into danger, so she didn't let me go out to play. But Aunt Nan often sneaks me out to catch rabbits and sparrows in the forest, and then roast them on the spot. Aunt Nan only knows how to roast, and I get tired of it after a while, so I can only learn how to cook. No, in addition to roasting, Aunt Nan can also make milk tea. Long Yuan said, as he took out 2 large cups from his storage bag. He poured boiling water into the cups, and then put a light yellow pill in each. The pills quickly dissolved, and 2 cups of simple milk tea were ready. Come, Uncle Nan, try this. Long Yuan handed one of the cups to Nan Feng. Nan Feng took a sip and felt that it tasted good. What is this? This is Shrimp Soldiers and Crab General's Bobo milk tea, which is made from shrimp paste, crab roe, milk, and black tea. After drying, it is condensed into pills. You only need to rinse it with boiling water, and you can drink it. By the way, Aunt Nan said this is called pre-made milk tea, which is simple and convenient. Milk tea. Pre-made? Shrimp Soldiers and Crab Generals. Ugh. Nan Feng quickly put the milk tea aside. I can't drink this. I'm allergic to seafood. Allergic to seafood? Long Yuan looked at Nan Feng, who was showing off his grilled fish, and fell into deep thought. At the same time, in Nancheng, a group of high-level officials gathered in the city lord's mansion. Wang Yuaning wrote a few lines on the blackboard and reported, regarding the kidnapping of Xiao Long Yuan, let's do a simple review now. The victim Long Yuan came to the first checkpoint, where I was stationed at around 9:30 in the morning, and left 2 or 3 minutes later, and went to the second checkpoint. Almost at the same time, I sent a message to the second group of people, but they never replied to me. Afterwards, the victim Long Yuan encountered the kidnappers on the way to the second level. After a brief fight, Long Yuan was knocked unconscious and taken away by the kidnappers. Xiao Ma Speed 7 escaped by chance and came back to ask for help. Luo Gu and Xiao Nan arrived at the crime scene at around 9:47, but could not find any trace of Long Yuan. Su Zuran took notes seriously and asked, what about the second group of people? Wang Yuanming explained, the second group is Longcheng's people, a total of 3, namely Lu Wei, Shi Xian, and Lin Xiaoxia. After investigation, they were knocked unconscious by the suspects at about 9:33 and thrown into the swamp. Wu Yuansheng pondered, why did the kidnappers knock them unconscious instead of killing them? Is it possible that they are accomplices of the kidnappers? Wang Yuaning shook his head slightly. Longcheng has launched an investigation, and no problems have been found with them for the time being. As for why they were not killed, maybe they were afraid that their avatars would be black and be discovered by other chosen ones in advance. These 3 people need to be paid special attention to. Su Zuran said, I remember that road, it seems to be the territory of the 5th Overlord? Su Ming said, someone invaded his territory, didn't he notice it at all? Wang Yuanming scratched his head. Longcheng had informed the 5th Overlord in advance, saying that they would test Long Yuan that day, and told him not to care about anything he heard. Interesting. Xiao Aran touched his chin. The kidnappers knew everything about Longcheng. I don't believe there was no insider operating in secret. Luo Gu said that this matter is most likely not related to Emperor Zun, so it was Sui Yana who did it. Shinpan said, but Sui Yana killed Long Wudi, and the people in Longcheng hate Sui Yana to the core, so how could anyone cooperate with Sui Yana? People's hearts are different from their stomachs. Who knows what those people are thinking? Long Wudi has been dead for almost 18 years, and their respect for Long Wudi has been slowly diluted by time. Let Longcheng catch the traitor, and let them solve it themselves. What we need to do now is to find Xiao Long Yuan first, and bring him back safely. Xiao Luo, who had been silent, suddenly said, don't worry about Long Yuan, we will also catch the traitor. Maybe the person who cooperated with Sui Yana is not in Longcheng, but in Nancheng. Many people in Nancheng also know about Long Yuan's whereabouts that day. Theoretically, everyone who knows about it may be a traitor. What Xiao Luo needs to do now is to first check the inside of Nancheng, so as to give an explanation to Longcheng. Everyone present looked at each other, their faces heavy. Shinpan hesitated and said, Brother Luo, do you mean that someone among us betrayed Nancheng? I don't know, that's why I have to check. Xiao Luo said in a deep voice, the other party can accurately know Long Yuan's movements, even to the minute, which means that the traitor cannot be a small minion. This traitor could be you, it could be me, or even Lin Mimi. Everyone present took a breath of cold air when they heard this. The next morning, the sea without form. Nefeng stood on the deck, feeling the sea breeze, staring at the sea in a daze. Long Yuan tied himself up with an iron chain, and hopped to Nanfeng's side. Uncle Nan, what are you looking at? Nefeng glanced back at him. What are you doing? Didn't the man in black say that the ship would arrive at the destination within 3 days? Long Yuan explained. I thought it would be today, so I tied myself up first to avoid being exposed. Nefeng nodded, and the light and shadow on his body changed, and he turned into the leader of the black-clothed men. 72 transformations? Uncle Nan, I want to learn this trick too. Long Yuan showed an envious look. Nefeng rejected Long Yuan. You have learned enough, and you can't chew too much. Okay. Long Yuan was a little disappointed. Nefeng looked at the calm sea, thought for a long time, and finally said, Look in that direction. Do you know where that is? Nefeng pointed his finger to the east. Long Yuan stood on tiptoe, and looked over with wide eyes. That sea area was no different from the surrounding area, and he didn't see anything special. I don't know. Long Yuan shook his head. What place is that? Nanfeng's voice was very calm. Back then, Long Woody fell here. Long Yuan's mind was blank in an instant, staring blankly at the sea area. Did this ship pass through here on purpose? Nefeng thought to himself, his eyes full of murderous intent. A mind attack? You are so powerful, but you still use such a trick. The mastermind behind the scenes is really shameless. The big ship continued to sail, and the two people on the ship did not speak. After a long time, they were far away from that sea area. Nefeng gently patted Long Yuan's shoulder and asked, From your previous battles, you should not have learned boxing, right? Long Yuan, stunned, came back to his senses and shook his head. No. Then I will teach you. Uncle Nan, didn't you just say that you can't chew too much? Stop talking nonsense. Nefeng stepped on the dragon and tiger steps and took the starting posture. Start with the dragon fist. Watch carefully. I will only teach you once. Chapter 847. At noon, Xiaonan came to the city gate, hands on hips, waiting for something. A few minutes later, Yunfei strode in from outside the city. Hey! Xiaonan suddenly jumped out from the side and gave Yunfei a big slap. Huh? You scared me. Yunfei patted his chest. With a puzzled look on his face, Xiaonan, what are you doing here? I'm looking for you. Xiaonan looked Yunfei up and down. Where did you go just now? Oh, I went to Longcheng. Yunfei answered. I found some clues about the kidnappers, so I went to Feiying and the others to discuss it. Xiaonan raised an eyebrow. Clues? What clues? Yunfei looked around and saw that there was no one around, so he whispered. I suspect one of the kidnappers is Qian Wei, who is known as the water-shaped phantom. Qian Wei? Never heard of him. Xiaonan shook his head gently. Is he very powerful? He is a level 45 strongman. He specializes in taking some robbery and assassination missions on the black market, and his mission success rate is quite high. Yunfei explained. A few days before Long Yuan disappeared, a hunter team saw him in Black Crow City. I just told Feiying this information. Longcheng is trying its best to find Qian Wei's whereabouts. Xiaonan gave Yunfei a thumbs up. Okay, Yunfei, if you can save Long Yuan, you will be the biggest contributor. It's worth it that I went through so much trouble to get you out of the Eternal Night Sea. Yunfei said sincerely. If it weren't for you, I would still be trapped in the Eternal Night Sea. By the way, what do you want to talk to me about? Oh, it's nothing big. Xiaonan returned to the topic. Give me some more delicious apples, I'm out of stock. Yunfei's heart tightened. How many do you want? Xiaonan counted on his fingers. 200 first, okay? Okay. Yunfei looked sullen, took out the Demon World summoning slingshot, and started to shoot marbles at the open space. 200 delicious apples. With such a random summoning probability, Yunfei didn't know how long it would take to get 200 apples. Tired. Dragon City. Flying Eagle, Mad Wolf, and Black Dog gathered in the conference room and looked at the original world map hanging on the wall. The water-shaped phantom Qian Wei is good at fighting in the water, and has abilities similar to water escape. Flying Eagle gestured on the map with his index finger. If he kidnapped Long Yuan, then he is likely to cross the ancient forest, go all the way south, reach the southernmost part of the continent, and then enter the Sea of No Form. Mad Wolf lit a mosquito coil, held it in his mouth, and said in a deep voice, Long Yuan is on the sea? What are you waiting for? Send more people to search the sea. Black Dog shook his head. It's been almost 3 days. The other party may have gone around in a big circle and landed somewhere. I don't think Long Yuan can be found by going to the Sea of No Form. It will only be a waste of manpower. Snap! Mad Wolf slammed the table fiercely. pinched the mosquito coil between 2 fingers, and said sternly, "Black Dog, what the hell is the point of you doing this every day? I asked you to find someone 2 days ago, and you said you couldn't send extra people. Now that we have a clue, you say it will be a waste of manpower? Tell me the truth, did you kidnap Long Yuan?" Black Dog was furious when he heard this. "What bullshit are you talking about? Long Yuan is the military leader's own flesh and blood. Why should I kidnap him?" "Humph." Mad Wolf took a puff of mosquito coils and snorted coldly, "Why did you kidnap him? Do you have to make it so clear?" Black Dog stood up and roared, "Speak, you should speak more clearly." "Okay, stop arguing." Fei Ying spoke up, stopping the two from arguing. "We talk about other things later. Now, let's send someone to the Sea of No Form to find Long Yuan." Mad Wolf and Black Dog glared at each other and left the meeting room. In the empty meeting room, Fei Ying also lit a mosquito coil, took a big puff, and then spit it out fiercely. In a moment, the whole meeting room was filled with smoke. Fei Ying sat in the smoke, took out a letter from his backpack, and opened it. This letter was sent to him 2 years ago by a man who called himself the Lord of the Underworld. Fei Ying has read it countless times. The letter was written with tens of thousands of words, all of which were arguments, like a rigorous doctoral thesis. And these arguments were all to prove a conjecture that Long Wudi's soul was in Long Yuan's body. At the end of the letter, the Lord of the Underworld wrote, "As time goes by, Long Yuan will gradually absorb the energy in his body, and then Long Wudi's soul will also dissipate. If the energy in Long Yuan's body can be completely taken out and then placed in a body without a soul, there is hope to revive Long Wudi. I have prepared my body, and you decide what to do next." Underworld Lord, Underworld Lord. Who are you? Flying Eagle muttered to himself, "Can a dead person really be resurrected?" After a while, Fei Ying burned the letter to ashes, blew it gently, and it floated out of the window with the wind. He stood up and left the meeting room, soaring into the sky and flying towards the Sea of No Form. A little after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a large ship with crude mystical runes gradually slowed down. On the deck, Nefeng raised his eyebrows slightly. At the end of his vision, he could vaguely see the land. Nefeng pondered, "This location seems to be near the Wuhai city of the Haoyu Empire. This ship sailed on the sea for 3 days, from the southernmost part of the continent to the easternmost part of the continent? What a confusing operation." Nefeng thought that the mastermind behind the scenes wanted to take Long Yuan to the Eternal Night Sea or the Polar Ice Sea. Unexpectedly, after a long journey, we returned to land. If I remember correctly, Wuhai City has been taken over by the Yin family. Nefeng thought to himself, going ashore here, are they trying to put the blame on the Yin family? No, the Yin family has a good relationship with Nancheng. Are they trying to put the blame on Nancheng? Oh, what a childish trick. I must have thought too simply. Hey, ha, hey. On the deck, Long Yuan was doing horse stance, practicing the most basic punching and closing of fists. His boxing was very standard, but lacked a bit of agility. Nefeng looked at Long Yuan's focused face, as if he saw Long Wudi when he first learned boxing. Almost done, Long Yuan. Nefeng said, the ship will dock soon, you get ready? Okay, Uncle Nan. Long Yuan exhaled, picked up the iron chain beside him, and tied himself up like a dumpling. What is our battle plan, Uncle Nan? Long Yuan asked. Nefeng shook his head. Without a plan, I don't know who I will meet or what will happen after I get ashore. So where does the plan come from? Just act on your own when the time comes. Maybe I have to make you suffer a little more. Long Yuan's heart skipped a beat, and he felt a little uneasy. How little suffering? Is it? Chapter 848. The big ship ran aground on an uninhabited beach. Nefeng, who transformed into the leader of the men in black, dragged Long Yuan, who was tied up like a dumpling with iron chains, and jumped off the ship. The sand on the beach was very soft. The two of them observed the surroundings calmly, but did not find the figure of a third person. It seems that your companion did not come. Long Yuan said jokingly, maybe he has been killed by my master. Stop talking nonsense. Nefeng stretched out his hand, and slapped Long Yuan on the back of his head. Long Yuan was blown away by this huge force, and rolled several times on the beach before stopping. Pooh, pooh, just wait. Long Yuan spat out the sand in his mouth and cursed, wait for my master to come and kill you. I will drown you with sand. Humph. Nefeng snorted coldly, stretched out his hand to suck Long Yuan over, and carried him to the shore. He clearly sensed that in the pile of rocks 800 meters away from him, there were 10 people carefully observing the two of them. This should be the contact person mentioned by the Black Cloak people. But the strength of these 10 people is very average. the highest is only level 44, even lower than the leader of the black-clothed people. These people are hired just like the black-clothed people. Nanfeng thought to himself. The mastermind did not show up directly, which made Nanfeng a little disappointed. Whether it is Emperor Zun or Suayana, they are already the top people in the world. Why don't they dare to show up? If you want to capture Long Yuan, just do it directly. Why make so much trouble? Hiding and covering up, playing such tricks like playing house, is really unworthy of one's status. I am a little suspicious now. Are they going to take Long Yuan away? Nanfeng had such a thought in his mind, but besides them, who else has such courage? I am really curious about who is behind this. Nanfeng took the iron chain on Long Yuan and strode towards the pile of rocks. The 10 people hiding in it were obviously a little panicked, probably because they didn't expect Nanfeng to walk directly towards them. Don't hide, you're just a bunch of rats. Nanfeng imitated the tone of the leader of the men in black and said in a deep voice, one hand for money, the other for goods. The 10 people hesitated for a while, and walked out from the pile of rocks. The leader had squinting eyes. He walked towards them with a big laugh. Ha ha ha, Senior Qianwei is really amazing. He actually caught the young master of Longcheng. Nanfeng stared at him coldly. Where's the money? Seeing that Nanfeng had no intention of greeting, the squinting eyes said nothing more, and took out a storage bag directly. It's ready. Senior Qianwei, please hand over the young master of Longcheng to us first, and then I will. Nanfeng stretched out his hand, and pushed Long Yuan over. Great. He squinted his eyes and laughed, and threw the storage bag over. This storage bag is ownerless. Nanfeng can open it directly. Even if it has an owner, it is useless. Nanfeng's current strength can completely break it open violently. The storage bag contains a large amount of resources, materials, and copper coins piled up like a small mountain. A rough estimate is at least 1 billion. Even for a level 45 warrior, this is a huge sum of money. But money is only money after all. It is something outside of one's body, and cannot improve one's strength. In Nanfeng's opinion, kidnapping Long Yuan and offending Longcheng for a little money is somewhat irrational. If you want to make money, you don't have to do such a risky thing. Nanfeng clicked into the handsome guy group last night, and happened to see the financial report for the first half of this year sent by Su Zuren. He glanced at it casually, and saw that Huang Yuanming's Huang Family Foot Bath Center World Chain Store made a profit of 683 million in the first half of the year. In terms of food, Master Su's braised yellow beef noodles, Mishu and Nancheng milk tea, Biolala bananas, etc. are all popular products that are popular all over the world. If you pick any one of them, the profit in half a year is over 100 million. Others include mobile phones, bicycles, sewing machines, etc., which are also money-making machines. 1 billion? It's just a drizzle. Kidnapping Long Yuan only makes 1 billion. This price is indeed a bit low. Senior Qianwei, is the reward okay? Squinting eyes, if it's okay, I will take the young master of Longcheng away. Nanfeng glanced and memorized the appearance of these 10 people. No problem. Nanfeng nodded and looked at Long Yuan. Don't let him run away, otherwise you and I will both be in trouble. Squinting his eyes, he smiled. Don't worry, there is no way he can return to Longcheng alive. Nanfeng lowered his eyebrows and sneered. You'd better do what you say. You bunch of trash. When my master comes, I will strip you all naked and throw you into the pigsty to feed the pigs. Long Yuan cursed. When your master comes, your body will stink. Mimi Yen smiled and patted Long Yuan's face. Take him away. The group took Long Yuan and ran away quickly. After watching them leave, Nanfeng turned around and jumped into the sea without stopping. He swam dozens of kilometers away, then rushed out of the sea and flew above the clouds, observing the traces of Long Yuan and others from the sky, like a human satellite. Mimi Yen and others controlled Long Yuan and rushed all the way to the direction of Wuhai City. This made Nanfeng a little confused. What do these guys want to do? How dare they bring Long Yuan into the city? Nanfeng couldn't guess their thoughts. There are chosen ones in Wuhai City, aren't they afraid at all? Nanfeng and the Zhao family's ancestor fought and almost destroyed Wuhai City. Later, Nanfeng personally participated in the post-disaster reconstruction work and did hard labor for several months. On the surface, Wuhai City is the territory of the Yin family, but in fact, Nancheng is the real ruler of Wuhai City. There have always been the chosen ones from Nancheng stationed in this city. That group of people dared to bring Long Yuan into the city. Weren't they afraid of being discovered? Nanfeng continued to monitor Long Yuan and others with doubts. They ran all the way, and when they were about 10 kilometers away from Wuhai City, Mimi Yen made a move that made Nanfeng full of question marks. He directly let Long Yuan go. What are you doing, buddy? Nafong black face.jpg. Is it because I have been in prison for too long that my thoughts can't keep up with the times? They went through so much trouble to catch Long Yuan here, and just let him go. The person behind the scenes doesn't really want to blame Nancheng, right? It's really abstract. Chapter 849. In the jungle about 20 kilometers outside Wuhai City, Mimi Yin drew out the long sword from his waist and cut off all the chains on Long Yuan's body. Long Yuan stared at him in a daze. Wuhai City is ahead. Once you enter the city, you will be safe. Mimi Yin said seriously, you must remember what I said to you on the road just now. Do you understand? Long Yuan's mind was a little confused. He was silent for a while and asked, what about you? Mimi Yin laughed, we tied you up and let you go. At the same time, we offended Longcheng and the employer. You are definitely dead. I'm going to hide with my brothers now, and live one more day. Long Yuan said quickly, I can make the decision in Longcheng. You come back with me, no one dares to touch you. Mimi Yin shook his head and said coldly, have you forgotten what I just said so quickly? Long Yuan was stunned, and recalled what Mimi Yin said to him halfway, the person who hired us to kidnap you is very likely. Mimi Yin patted Long Yuan on the shoulder and said softly, don't worry about us. Long Junshu saved our lives back then, although he just did it casually, and he may not remember it, but we have always kept it in mind. Let you go, we have also repaid his life-saving grace. Go quickly, remember what I said, be careful of that person. After saying this, Mimi Yin felt that there was no time to waste, and took the remaining 9 brothers to quickly go deep into the jungle. Long Yuan stared at their receding backs in a daze, and stood there in a daze. Interesting. Nafeng, who was above the clouds, heard the conversation between Long Yuan and Mimi Yin clearly. He lowered his head and thought, be careful of that person? Who is he talking about? What else did he say to Long Yuan on the way? While thinking, Mimi Yin and others had already run far away. A small reconnaissance plane appeared between Nanfeng's fingers, following them from a distance, monitoring their every move. Repay a favor? Why do I not believe it? I want to see what kind of plane they are using. Nanfeng's figure flashed, and he had already fallen from the clouds, and came behind Long Yuan silently. Long Yuan didn't notice him at all, and still stood there in a daze. What did the squinting eyes say to you? It has such a strong after effect. Nanfeng said. Long Yuan reacted belatedly, and turned around slowly. Uncle Nan. Long Yuan showed a far-fetched smile, and did not answer Nanfeng's question, but said, I seem to be safe. Nanfeng nodded and said calmly, with me here, you are always safe. Thank you, Uncle Nan. Long Yuan responded in a low voice. After a while, he spoke again, Uncle Nan, can I not go back to Longcheng for now? Nanfeng, why? Long Yuan explained, this is the first time I have gone far away since I was a child. I want to play outside for a while, and see the world outside Longcheng. Nanfeng looked into Long Yuan's eyes. He saw confusion, helplessness, and a hint of sadness in the eyes of this young man. Can I, Uncle Nan? Seeing that Nanfeng didn't answer, Long Yuan asked again carefully. Of course, your life should be decided by you. You don't need to ask me, nor do you need to ask others. Nanfeng took off the tactical mask and put it on Long Yuan's face. Put on this mask, they won't be able to find you. Thank you. Long Yuan took out a mirror from the storage bag and looked at himself in the mirror. Uncle Nan, why is your mask transparent? My face hasn't changed at all. Nanfeng snapped his fingers lightly, and Long Yuan's face twisted, and soon turned into an ugly monster. Long Yuan was dumbfounded. Uncle Nan, this face is too ugly, change it quickly. Seeing that Nanfeng did not move, he fumbled around on his face again, muttering, where is the mechanism? Uncle Nan, teach me how to use it. You can't use this thing, only I can control it. Nanfeng smiled, okay, don't worry about your face. Don't you want to see the world outside Longcheng? Let's go to Wuhai City first. Okay. When he thought that he could not go back to Longcheng for the time being, Long Yuan quickly accepted this ugly face. Nanfeng took out a human skin mask from his backpack and changed his face. Then, they walked towards Wuhai City like a stroll. On the way, Nanfeng asked again, what did that squint-eyed guy say to you? You seem a little sad. Long Yuan was silent. Seeing this, Nanfeng stopped asking questions and said, everyone has their own secrets, and it doesn't matter if you don't want to tell them. Yes, it doesn't matter if you don't want to say it, anyway, that squint-eyed person is still under Nanfeng's surveillance. If he wants to know, he can ask the squint-eyed person at any time. Wuhai City is a city with developed trade. Because it is close to the sea, it can export a large amount of seafood every year. As the actual ruler of Wuhai City, Nancheng naturally makes a lot of money from it. Nanfeng and Long Yuan soon arrived at the gate of Wuhai City. In the past 2 days, Wuhai City has been heavily guarded, and people entering and leaving will be strictly investigated and questioned. The common people don't know what happened, and only a few people know the inside story. This is because the young master of Longcheng has disappeared, and Wuhai City is trying its best to investigate the clues. Is this Wuhai City? Long Yuan looked at the city wall in front of him and said, "This city wall is not as tall and majestic as the capital. There are not many cities in the entire primitive world that can compare with the capital." Nanfeng said. The last time Nanfeng went to the capital was 17 years ago. At that time, the capital already had the style of Blue Star in the 1980s and 1990s. Now another 17 years have passed. Nanfeng estimated that the capital should be full of tall buildings by now, right? There is also South City, Magic City, Black Crow City, Whitewater City, etc. They must have changed a lot. I really want to go back and take a look. Nanfeng thought in his heart. There was a long queue outside Wuhai City. Many fishermen rode tricycles with freshly caught seafood on them, ready to sell in the city. Nanfeng and the others also mixed in the team and slowly moved forward. It got dark soon. Nanfeng suddenly raised his head and looked at the city wall. A row of city defense soldiers stood on the wall, standing tall and protecting the safety of Wuhai City. Among the city defense soldiers, there was a chosen one who was leaning against the city wall, scanning the people queuing below. Yun Fei? Nanfeng frowned slightly. Why is he here? At this point in time, any chosen one who appeared in Wuhai City would be included in Nanfeng's list of suspects. Could he be the one who wanted to capture Long Yuan? Chapter 850. Name. At the gate, the city defense soldiers looked at Nanfeng and Long Yuan seriously. Long Yuan raised his head. My name is Xishui. Puff. The city defense soldier saw Long Yuan's ugly face and couldn't hold it back for a moment. But he was well trained, so he immediately put away his smile and looked at Nanfeng. What about you? Nanfeng said seriously, my name is Li Ergu. Xiaoshui Li Ergu. The city defense soldier carefully recorded the information of the two people, and then said, come, take out your ID card for me to see. Hearing this, Long Yuan suddenly became nervous. He almost forgot that 10 years ago, the chosen ones from various countries jointly produced a card that recorded personal information, which was the so-called ID card. Long Yuan had an ID card, but the name on that card was Long Yuan. If he took it out, wouldn't he be discovered in a second? But if he couldn't take out the ID card? Looking at the increasingly suspicious eyes of the city defense army, Long Yuan's brain turned rapidly, thinking about countermeasures. Sir, this is my ID card. Nanfeng took out a card from his pocket and handed it to the city defense soldier. Long Yuan glanced at it and found that the 3 words Li Ergu were written on the card. Where did Uncle Nan get the ID card? Long Yuan was a little confused. Well, Li Ergu. Okay, you can go in. The city defense soldier returned the card to Nanfeng and turned to look at Long Yuan. Where is your ID card? Nanfeng replied, Sir, Xiaoshui is here for the first time in Wuhai City, and I brought him here to apply for an ID card. Oh, he hasn't applied for a card yet. The city defense army nodded. Okay, then you can go in. Remember to get a card as soon as possible, otherwise you won't be able to get in next time. Nanfeng nodded and bowed. Okay, thank you, military officer. Things like identity cards are only useful in cities controlled by the chosen ones. Many people from other places don't have identity cards. The city defense army encounters hundreds of people without identity cards every day. It's not uncommon, so he didn't make things difficult for Nanfeng and Long Yuan, and let them go directly. After entering the city, Long Yuan whispered, Uncle Nan, where did you get your identity card? Nanfeng shrugged slightly. When I was queuing just now, I heard the person behind me say that they wanted to check the ID card, so I took one. As he said that, he shook his wrist, and the ID card with Li Ergu written on it flew out of the city like lightning and fell lightly into the pocket of a yellow-haired young man. When you are in the world, you must remember to listen to all directions and see all directions, understand? Nanfeng said, let me test you. What is the name of the city defense soldier just now? The city defense soldier just now. He didn't introduce himself. Long Yuan lowered his head and thought hard for a long time, then shook his head and said, I don't know. Nanfeng, haha, that's right, I don't know either. Long Yuan, Are you kidding me? After they left, the yellow-haired young man who had been waiting in line for more than an hour finally arrived at the city gate. City Defense Army. Name? Yellow-haired young man. Li Ergu. Li, you are also called Li Ergu? There are so many people with the same name. The City Defense Army muttered a few words and continued, take out your ID card so I can see it. The yellow-haired young man took out his ID card from his pocket. The City Defense Army took a glance and frowned immediately. Not only the name is the same, but even the ID number on the card is the same. Oh no, something went wrong. At night, Na Feng, who had changed his appearance again, took Long Yuan to stroll around the city and experience the customs and habits of Wuhai City. Live by the mountain and eat by the mountain. Live by the sea and eat by the sea. Na Feng gnawed on the squid tentacles as thick as his arm, and said vaguely, Wuhai City is close to the sea, and the food here is mainly seafood. Are you used to it? Long Yuan nodded. I can eat anything, I'm not picky. Uncle Nan, you? Aren't you allergic to seafood? Nan Feng paused for half a second, and continued to eat. This squid is artificially farmed. After eating and drinking, the two came to Long Men in Weiqing Branch to book a room and rest. Long Men Inn is a chain hotel opened by Long Chung. With more than 500 branches around the world, even the imperial capital is no exception. This is tacitly agreed by the emperor. As a condition, Long Men Inn must give the emperor 10% of its net profit every year as dividends. Don't think that giving this 10% profit will be a big loss. If the emperor wants to suppress Long Men Inn can't open at all, and can only play in the more than 40 cities controlled by Longcheng and Nancheng. How many guests can there be in more than 40 cities, and how much money can be earned? It's completely incomparable to now. In fact, the emperor is not so kind. The reason why he allowed Long Men Inn to open all over the world is just to let his subordinates learn the business model of Long Men Inn. 2 years ago, the emperor ordered people to imitate the Dragon Gate Inn and open the Emperor Inn, hoping to grab business. But it was obvious that he could not grab any. After all, with such a domineering name, most people would think their heads would be in danger after seeing it, so who would dare to stay there? In addition, the service of the Emperor Inn was very poor. When the staff thought that they were working for the emperor, they acted like masters and looked down on others, which made the business even worse. For this reason, the emperor was furious and chopped off countless people's heads. Later, he also sent a group of people to Beijing for further study, and to learn the management of the inn. This is the development history of Long Men Inn from its founding to today. In the room, Long Yuan chattered and explained the history of Long Men Inn to Nan Feng. Longcheng is getting better and better. Nan Feng smiled and nodded. What about Nancheng? Is there any industry in Nancheng that is developing well? Yes, Uncle Huang's foot bath shop is the best, I tell you. It was late at night. The two chatted for most of the night, and Long Yuan yawned and went back to his room to sleep. After making sure that Long Yuan was asleep, Nan Feng opened the panel and sent a message to Xiao Luo. Call Xiao Nan and come to Wuhai City. Be careful to hide, and don't let anyone find you. Xiao Luo replied, okay. After turning off the panel, Nan Feng walked to the window and looked out. At this position, he could vaguely see the east city wall. In Nan Feng's perception, Yun Fei was still standing on the city wall. Yun Fei, what are you waiting for? Nan Feng murmured, you knew Long Yuan would come here, so you waited here on purpose? Nan Feng didn't quite believe that Yun Fei would kidnap Long Yuan, but judging from the current situation, he seemed a bit suspicious. Standing by the window for a while, Nan Feng sensed that Xiao Luo and Xiao Nan were already above Wuhai City, so he flew up to the clouds. No one could find Nan Feng's figure, as if he didn't exist. Chapter 851. Wuhai City. Above the thick clouds, Nan Feng waited for Xiao Luo and Xiao Nan. The last time the three of them got together was 17 years ago. Of course, for Nan Feng, it was more than 500 years ago. Xiao Nan transformed into a graceful and beautiful girl. Xiao Luo also lost his immaturity and youthful spirit. His face was angular and looked much more stable. Brother, where is Xiao Long Yuan? Xiao Nan asked first, is he okay? Why don't you care about me first? Nan Feng glared at her, that kid is very tough, what can happen to him? It's just that he got a few big holes in his body and lost a few pounds of blood. Xiao Nan put his hands on his waist with murderous intent, these bastards. Xiao Luo stared at Nan Feng for a long time and shook his head gently. Level 47. You have been in seclusion for more than 500 years, and you can only reach this level? Nan Feng chuckled. Level is not the key is that I can live for more than 500 years. If Nan Feng had spent all the 500 years cultivating, he would definitely be stronger than he is now. But the problem is that under normal circumstances, he cannot live for 500 years. Under the curse of the god of creation, the Chosen One only has a lifespan of 100 years. Nefeng was able to break the curse of the god of creation and survive successfully, which was the biggest gain of his retreat. Speaking of this, Xiaonan was the most surprised. She asked, "You have done what Siana couldn't do at level 48. Brother, how did you solve the curse?" "As long as we find the source of the curse, this problem is not unsolvable." Nefeng rolled up his sleeves, pointed to the tactical watch on his wrist, and said, "As for the source of the curse, it is this, the Creator God's system." Xiao Luo and Xiaonan looked at each other, and both of them had a thought that it should be like this. What is the difference between the Chosen One and others? The difference is, only the Chosen One has the Creator God system. It is precisely because of the Creator God system that the Chosen Ones can reach the realm that the natives can only reach after thousands of years of hard practice in just a few years. The Creator God system helps the Chosen Ones become more powerful, but at the same time, it also counts down the lifespan of the Chosen Ones. "You disabled the Creator God system?" Xiao Luo asked in surprise. "No, you were still using the Creator God system to send me a message just now." Nefeng smiled and said, "This matter is very complicated to discuss. I will explain it to you slowly after I return to Nancheng. Tonight, we will deal with Xiaolongyuan's affairs first." Xiao Luo and Xiaonan nodded gently. "Come on, follow me first." Nefeng said no more and flew to the seaside with the two of them. The big ship he was on was still stranded on the beach. Nefeng had been secretly monitoring the big ship to see if anyone would come to recover or destroy it. But the person behind the scenes didn't seem to care about the ship. It was quietly stranded on the seaside, and no one cared about it. The three of them were very fast. It took only a few breaths to reach the distance of 100 kilometers. This ship is very strange. It can block our perception. In the sky, Nefeng said to the two people behind him, "We can see it with our naked eyes, but in perception, it is invisible." Xiao Luo raised his eyebrows. The principle of invisible fighter? If perception is compared to radar, then this ship is a stealth warship painted with special paint. And this special paint is most likely the various profound runes engraved on the surface of the hull. The three fell from the air, and came directly to the deck of the big ship. Xiaonan just glanced at it casually, and said with certainty, "I sense the breath of the Eternal Night Sea." "Eternal Night Sea?" Nefeng groaned. Speaking of which, Xiaonan's perception should be one of the best in the world. In the primitive world, there are very few people or things that can avoid Xiaonan's perception. Apart from Siana, it seems that there is only the Eternal Night Sea. Xiaonan squatted on the deck and carefully observed the runes on the surface of the hull. After a moment, she said, "These messy runes have no effect of shielding perception. The key lies in the ink that depicts the runes. These inks should come from the Eternal Night Sea." Nefeng exhaled lightly. That is to say, someone has been to the Eternal Night Sea and brought out this ink that blocks perception? Ah. Xiaonan was puzzled. "Brother, why are you sighing?" Nefeng said helplessly, "I was wondering, how many people in this world have been to the Eternal Night Sea?" Xiaonan counted on his fingers. "I have been there, you have been there, oh Yunfei has been there too, as for others. Emperor Zun and Siana, they may not have been there, because the stronger the strength, the harder it is to find the Eternal Night Sea." Brother, you are not doubting." Nefeng said calmly, "I met Yunfei in Wuhai City, why is he here?" Xiao Luo pondered. The brothers in Nancheng have all dispersed to find Longyuan. Maybe Yunfei just wants to try his luck here? Maybe. In the absence of absolute evidence, Nefeng was unwilling to believe that Yunfei kidnapped Longyuan. Why did he kidnap Longyuan? What was the motive? For money? For power? Or for the energy in Longyuan's body? Nefeng thought these reasons were ridiculous. He didn't believe Yunfei would kidnap Longyuan for these reasons. "By the way, brother, where are the people who kidnapped Longyuan?" Xiaonan asked. "What's that called?" "Waterman Qianwei? He should know some clues, right?" Xiao Luo looked at Xiaonan in confusion. Nefeng spread his hands. "That guy is dead, and no valuable clues were found. What should we do now? Should we go directly to Yunfei to confront him? Isn't this a bad idea?" Xiaonan took out a cup of milk tea, and began tonight's storm inhalation with a sad face. "I do have another clue." Nefeng told the two about the people with squinting eyes, "But I don't want to touch this clue for the time being. I feel that the person behind the scenes may go to find them." Xiao Luo nodded in agreement. "Okay, monitor them first and don't alert them. That's it for tonight, you go back first." Nefeng clapped his hands, and signaled everyone to disperse on the spot. "Remember, don't tell anyone that I have come out of seclusion. I suspect there is a traitor in Nancheng, and there may be one in Longcheng. During this time, I will stay with Long Yuan and catch the traitor. Okay. On the way back to South City, Xiao Luo suddenly asked, Xiao Nan, how do you know that among the people who kidnapped Long Yuan, there is a man called Qian Wei, the waterman? Xiao Nan replied, Yun Fei told me. He said that a few days before Long Yuan disappeared, someone saw Qian Wei in Black Crow City. Xiao Luo fell into deep thought. Such important news, he didn't know, Su Ziran didn't know, why did Yun Fei know? Chapter 852. Long Yuan had a dream. In the dream, he was a breeze, floating between heaven and earth. All the sounds in this world could not escape his ears. He heard the blacksmith Wang in the south of the city complaining about the rising pork prices. He heard the widow Li in the north of the city kissing with the old Zhao next door. He heard Grandpa Sun in the center of the city asking for help for his granddaughter's illness. He also heard the voice of his mother Lin Mimi. How sure are you? This is Lin Mimi speaking. 1%. This is a hoarse voice that cannot be distinguished between men and women. Long Yuan tried to prick up his ears, trying to hear who his mother was talking to. However, as a wisp of light wind, he has no ears. He couldn't hear clearly. He could only hear some incomprehensible words intermittently. Lin Mimi, resurrection, agree, sorry child. Hoarse voice, there is only one chance. The wind is free, but also not free. He can fly to any corner, but he can't stay where he wants to stay. He drifted away with the wind, and he could no longer hear that familiar voice. Early morning. Long Yuan woke up slowly, with faint traces of tears in the corners of his eyes. After putting on clothes, washing his face, and brushing his teeth, Long Yuan calmly tidied himself up and knocked on the door next door with a smile. Nan. Uncle Go, get up and eat. There was a rustling sound in the room, and Nan Feng came out yawning in a large vest, beach pants, and flip-flops. Uncle Go, your look. Long Yuan looked Nan Feng up and down and commented, you look a bit like the old men who collect rent in Beijing. That's my ultimate dream. Nan Feng said, also, don't call me Uncle Go, that was my identity yesterday. Okay. The two of them went to the cafeteria on the second floor of the inn, and had a very hearty breakfast. Uncle Nan, I have something to discuss with you. Long Yuan ate a fried dough stick. What is it? Nan Feng gulped down a large bowl of soy milk. I want to walk back to Longcheng from here. Long Yuan said, this world is colorful, different from what I have seen in books and heard from my elders. I want to see with my own eyes, feel with my own heart, and measure with my own legs. Nan Feng pondered for a while, and smiled. Okay, a good idea. Reading thousands of books is not as good as traveling thousands of miles. I support you. Long Yuan laughed from the bottom of his heart. Uncle Nan still understands me. I said that studying is useless, but my mother insisted that I study hard, which is annoying. Like all his peers, Long Yuan doesn't like studying. This age is the age for fun. Nan Feng said seriously, you can't say that, studying is definitely useful. Look at me, Uncle Nan, I studied in elementary school for 7 years, and I am proficient in addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. No one can cheat me when I go out to buy groceries. Proficient in addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. Is it amazing? Long Yuan fell into deep thought. Duh. The sound of neat and uniform footsteps sounded on the street below. Nan Feng and Long Yuan happened to be sitting by the window. They slightly leaned their heads out and looked out. I saw a squad of city defense troops running towards here quickly and surrounding Longmen Inn. First floor of Longmen Inn. The captain of the city defense troops strode in, looked at the front desk, and said coldly, did 2 people check in last night, one named Su Gaoxing and the other named Shi Yuqian? The lady at the front desk saw that the city defense troops looked aggressive, and hurriedly said, wait a minute, I check. In the cafeteria on the second floor, Nan Feng and Long Yuan heard the conversation downstairs. Nan Feng picked up 2 ID cards last night, which were Su Gaoxing and Shi Yuqian. They checked in with these 2 ID cards. This city defense army is very efficient. They came to our door so quickly. Not bad. Nan Feng thought to himself. Uncle Nan, they came to find us. Long Yuan was a little nervous, and asked in a low voice, what should we do now? Don't panic when something happens. Pretend it has nothing to do with us. Nan Feng ate buns leisurely. Downstairs, the front desk lady quickly found the information. Yes, Su Gaoxing and Shi Yuqian. They live in room 603 and 604. Team 1, guard the gate. Team 2, follow me. The team leader waved his hand, and led the team members upstairs. As soon as they reached the second floor, Nan Feng suddenly stood up and shouted, The city defense army is here, run. As he said that, Nefong raised his middle finger to the team leader, and the next second, he disappeared from the spot. The people of Longyuan were stunned. The city defense army was also stunned. Don't move, surrender obediently, don't make it difficult for me. The team leader was the first to react, and strode towards Longyuan, with a sword at his waist already drawn. If it's difficult, then don't do it. Longyuan muttered the classic lines of Brother Crow, flipped the table with one hand, turned around and flew out of the window. Chase! In an instant, 70 or 80 city defense soldiers flew into the sky and chased Longyuan. Uncle Ned is making a plane. Longyuan cursed in his heart. He glanced back and found that there were people behind him. He was so scared that he quickly increased his speed to the extreme. Nan Feng's voice sounded in Longyuan's ears. Don't fly in the sky in this situation. It's too conspicuous. Longyuan nodded in understanding, dived down, and entered the vegetable market with a huge flow of people. The city defense troops also landed in unison. They stood on the roof and surrounded the entire vegetable market. The team leader shouted, "The city defense troops are investigating the case. Please cooperate with all the villagers and friends. Everyone squat down." Swish, swish, swish. For a moment, 90% of the people in the vegetable market squatted down. Those who were still standing were either very strong or not locals. Longyuan was one of them. No, you all cooperated like this? Longyuan wanted to blend into the crowd and find a chance to escape, but he was caught in less than 5 seconds. He had no choice but to dive into the alley and continue to flee. Don't run. The city defense army yelled. Then don't chase. Longyuan even had time to retort. A chase began again. In the vegetable market, the people saw that the two parties were getting farther and farther away, so they stood up and talked. Come on, military officer, catch this thief. How do you know he's a thief? Are you stupid? This is a vegetable market. What kind of thief can there be in a vegetable market? If he's not a thief, could he be a robber? Who knows? Nefong has been secretly observing the entire city. To be more precise, he was observing Yunfei. On the city wall, Yunfei discovered the situation in the city. He flew high into the sky and looked down at the city from a high position. He saw the boy running away. Longyuan? Yunfei murmured half-believingly. Although the boy's face was not half similar to Longyuan. But his height, body shape, and running posture were exactly the same as Longyuan. There was no mistake. The boy who was running for his life was Longyuan. Yunfei took out the demon world summoning slingshot and fiercely fired a magic marble towards the bottom. Boom! The dust raised by the explosion blocked the vision of the city defense army. When they rushed out of the smoke and dust, where was Longyuan's shadow in front of them? Chapter 853. The smoke cleared, and Longyuan disappeared. The captain of the city defense army shouted, "Separate and chase." No need. Yunfei fell from the sky and came in front of the captain. Master Yunfei. The captain saluted respectfully and said, "This little thief stole someone else's ID card and sneaked into the city. He must have bad intentions. I think we should catch him." Wuhai City has long been guarded by the Chosen One of the South City, and Yunfei has also stayed here for a long time. Most of the city defense troops knew Yunfei, and knew that he was from the South City, and was one of the actual rulers of Wuhai City, so they were naturally extremely respectful to him. Yunfei said calmly, "Let the brothers withdraw, and leave this little thief to me." Having said that, the captain didn't say much, and hurriedly said, "Then I trouble you, Lord Yunfei." Nearly 100 city defense troops dispersed in an orderly manner, and the city soon returned to peace. Yunfei strode forward, crossed 2 streets, and stopped in front of a small tea house. He turned his head to look inside the tea house, and saw a young man drinking tea, pretending to be an uninformed passerby. Yunfei walked in. The young man stood up suddenly like a frightened hare, and was about to escape from the back door. "Don't run, little Longyuan." Yunfei sent a message. Longyuan paused, sat back in his seat, and smiled awkwardly. "Hey, isn't this Uncle Yunfei? Long time no see. Why are you here?" Yunfei sat down opposite Longyuan and asked in a low voice, "You've already arrived in Wuhai City. Why didn't you contact us? Everyone is looking for you everywhere." Before Longyuan opened his mouth, Yunfei continued, "In fact, it is right not to contact us. It is too dangerous for you to return to Longcheng now. It is safer to stay outside." Uncle Yunfei, what do you mean by this?" Longyuan's face was slightly solemn. Yunfei thought for a moment and said, "I suspect that someone in Longcheng wants to kill you." Longyuan was silent, his fingers kept tapping the tea table, and he seemed a little uneasy. Nan Feng's voice came into Long Yuan's ears. Ask Yunfei, who wants to kill you? Long Yuan opened his mouth slightly, hesitated for a while, and smiled. Thank you, Uncle Yunfei, for reminding me. Then I won't go back to Longcheng for the time being. Yunfei nodded gently after hearing this. The two drank a few cups of tea quietly, and Yunfei asked again, Long Yuan, who tied you up, and how did you escape? Long Yuan pondered for a moment, and said half-truthfully, I don't know who tied me up. Those people had an internal conflict and fought on the way, so I took advantage of the chaos to escape and ran all the way to Wuhai City. Internal strife? Yunfei was puzzled. This kidnapping team is too unprofessional. They started internal strife in the middle of the work? It sounds like it was made up. What do those kidnappers look like? Yunfei continued to ask. Long Yuan scratched his head. They were wearing masks. I don't know. Oh, I remember there was a squint-eyed man. Squint-eyed? Yunfei's eyes flashed when he heard the news. He hurriedly asked, Do you know where that squint-eyed man is? I don't know. Long Yuan shook his head. He was a little confused. Uncle Yunfei seemed to be very interested in that squint-eyed guy. Did they know each other before? Okay. Yunfei was a little disappointed. He drank 2 more cups of tea and said, Well, I notified Luo Gu to pick you up. You stay in Nancheng secretly first, and we send you back after we find out the traitor in Longcheng. Don't. Long Yuan heard this and hurriedly stopped him. Uncle Yunfei, I don't want to go back now. Yunfei frowned. Don't want to go back? Are you afraid that someone in Nancheng will harm you? Long Yuan nodded dejectedly. Ah, that's good. It's safer to stay outside. Yunfei pondered, Then I send you away from Wuhai City. There are too many chosen ones here. You will be discovered sooner or later. I know a very remote town. It's safe there. Nan Feng, who was hiding on the beam, sighed softly in his heart. Yunfei, Yunfei. Promise him. Nan Feng sent a message to Long Yuan. On the tea table, Long Yuan pretended to think for a while, then smiled and said, Okay, then I trouble Uncle Yunfei. Why are you being polite to me? Yunfei chuckled. Let's go now without delay. Yunfei left a dozen copper coins on the table, and took Long Yuan out of Wuhai City without any obstacles. Nan Feng followed the two of them leisurely. With his current strength, Yunfei would not be able to find him even if he stood 10 meters behind Yunfei. In order not to attract other people's attention, Yunfei chose to walk. He led Long Yuan through the woods, valleys, and over 2 mountains, and finally arrived at a small town in the evening. This town has about 60 to 70 households, located in the middle of several mountains, and is very remote. The two walked into the town, and the villagers in the town came up to greet Yunfei when they saw him. Lord Yunfei, how come you have time to come here today? Lord Yunfei, come to my house for a drink later. Lord Yunfei. It can be seen that the people in this town have a good relationship with Yunfei. Yunfei smiled and greeted them, then came out of the courtyard. Master Yunfei, you are here. A girl came out of the courtyard. She was about 4 or 5 years old, with a lovely smile. Yunfei smiled and said, Xiao Fei, where is your mother? Mom is cooking. The girl said, turned and shouted towards the kitchen, Mom, Mom, Master Yunfei is here. Soon, a gentle and virtuous woman came out. She was wearing an apron and holding a spatula in her hand. She said gently, Master Yunfei, stay and have dinner with us? Yunfei smiled and waved his hand. No, I have something else to do. I have to go back quickly. By the way, this is a child of my friend. He may have to stay with you for a few days. Is it convenient for you? The woman smiled. Of course, it is convenient. There are many empty rooms at home. Yunfei did not stay for too long. He arranged Long Yuan's accommodation and left quickly. Before leaving, Yunfei warned Long Yuan, Little Long Yuan, you must not reveal what happened here to the outside world, understand? Long Yuan nodded, not quite understanding. In the evening, after having a sumptuous dinner at the woman's house, Long Yuan returned to his room. Uncle Nan. Uncle Nan. Are you still there? Long Yuan called softly. Nan Feng appeared behind Long Yuan silently. I've been here. Huh, you scared me. Long Yuan patted his chest and asked, Uncle Nan, are you doubting Uncle Yunfei? I don't think Uncle Yunfei is that kind of person. He won't hurt me. You kid, you just trust others too easily. Nan Feng was a little helpless. He walked to the window, looked at the street outside, and whispered, Didn't you notice? This town is weird, and the people in the town are also weird. Chapter 854. This town is weird, and the people in it are also weird. Nan Feng whispered. What's weird about it? Long Yuan didn't find anything unusual. I think it's quite normal. The people in the town are very warm, and the meal that the ant cooked just now was also very delicious. This town is like that ship, it can't be sensed. Before approaching the town, Nanfeng didn't sense the town at all. It wasn't until he entered the town that the town materialized in his perception. As for the people in the town, while eating at Long Yuan, Nanfeng walked around the town and found that the people in the town seemed to be missing something. But Nanfeng couldn't tell what was missing. Speaking of weirdness, I also found a strange place, Long Yuan said. Nanfeng nodded. Tell me about it. The little girl in this family is only 4 or 5 years old, but she talks and acts like a person in her teens or 20s. Long Yuan pondered. How to say it, this feeling is like putting a 20-year-old soul into a 4 or 5-year-old body. Soul. Body. Nanfeng held his chin up and fell into deep thought. A few minutes later. Take a bath, so happy. An off-tune song came from the next door of the courtyard, accompanied by the sound of splashing water. Nanfeng raised his eyebrows slightly. Someone is taking a bath next door. Long Yuan nodded. I heard it. Nanfeng joked. You go and take a look, maybe we can find some clues. Long Yuan's face was grim. How can that be? I'm a good kid, how can I peek at someone taking a bath? Nanfeng laughed. I can tell from the sound that it's a man, what's wrong with watching? It's like you've never been to a bathhouse. Ouch. Bang. Suddenly there was a cry from the next door, followed by the sound of someone falling. Long Yuan raised his eyebrows and said, Uncle Nan, the guy next door seems to have fallen. Do you want to help him? Nanfeng groaned. Are you sure? He might be naked. Long Yuan thought about it, but still shook his head. Forget it. A fall shouldn't be a big deal. Ouch, it hurts so much. A wailing sound came from next door. My leg is broken. Why am I so unlucky? Nanfeng and Long Yuan looked at each other. Broken leg? It seems like we have to go help. The two of them opened the door quietly, climbed up the high wall, and looked at the yard next door. There was a naked man with a bear, but in the yard, groaning in pain on the ground. Just as Long Yuan was about to turn over, Nanfeng held his shoulder with one hand. Huh? Long Yuan looked at Nanfeng in confusion. Nanfeng raised his eyebrows, indicating that Long Yuan should observe carefully before taking action. Long Yuan looked at the yard next door again, and after observing carefully for a few seconds, he took a breath of cold air. The naked man in the yard had really broken his leg. But it was not a broken bone, but a broken leg that was separated from the body. The naked man picked up his right leg, gestured at the base of his thigh twice, and sighed, Oh, it's broken 3 times this month. This time I must sew it well. He got up from the ground, and slowly jumped back into the room with one foot. Let's go! Nanfeng climbed down the wall, and came to the naked man's yard. He came to the window, like a ghost, and looked into the room through the gap between the windows. The naked man was holding a needle and thread, sewing his right leg to his body bit by bit. Hiss. Long Yuan also saw this scene, and gasped in fear. He was still young. Where had he seen such an exciting scene? The naked man heard Long Yuan's inhalation, and looked up at the window vigilantly. Who is it? When he limped out, the courtyard was empty. Where was the figure? Inside the room. Long Yuan felt his scalp tingling and whispered, Uncle Nan, what's going on? Who uses needles and thread to sew the body? And his legs didn't bleed even when they were broken. Didn't you notice? His whole body is covered with needles and thread. Nanfeng whispered, his whole body was sewn together with needles and thread. Maybe his hands, feet, and head are from different people. Stitched monster? So disgusting. Long Yuan got goosebumps. Wait, the man next door is a stitched monster. So could the woman and the little girl in this family also be stitched monsters? Also, what kind of meat was used in the delicious stir-fried pork he had tonight? Ugh. Long Yuan felt more and more nauseous the more he thought about it, and squatted on the ground and began to dry heave. You can't stand it, little brat. Your psychological endurance is still a little poor. Nanfeng joked softly, reaching out and gently patting Long Yuan on the back. Long Yuan cried, Uncle Nan, I want to go home. The world outside is too scary. Nanfeng decisively refused. No, Yunfei brought you here. There must be a next step. You can't leave. Long Yuan looked aggrieved. Think about it in a positive way. Nanfeng said, the people in this town are just a little disgusting, but they are very weak. You are invincible here, so you don't need to be afraid of them. I'm not afraid, I just feel disgusting. Long Yuan started to retch again. He retched for several minutes before he recovered a little. Nanfeng said, anyway, you should stay here for a while. I want to see what Yunfei is going to do. After saying this, Nan Feng's figure flashed and disappeared. You let me live here, but you ran away fast. Damn Uncle Nan. Long Yuan cursed in his heart. Duh. Footsteps sounded in the courtyard, and a few seconds later, a woman came to Long Yuan's door and knocked on it. Dong. Xiao Shuai, are you asleep? The woman asked gently. It was Xiao Fei's mother. Long Yuan rolled his eyes and answered, I'm getting ready to sleep. What's the matter, auntie? The woman whispered, I just made some hot bone soup. Do you want to try it? Bone soup? Long Yuan got into bed and yawned in response. Auntie, I'm sleepy. You can drink it yourself. Well, you should go to bed early. The woman took small steps and returned to the kitchen. On the roof, Nanfeng caught a glimpse of the woman's back and felt that the figure looked familiar. He wanted to see the woman's face clearly, but the woman had already walked into the kitchen. Beep beep. Tactical watch, there was a sound, and Nanfeng no longer paid attention to the woman, but opened the panel. A dozen seconds ago, Nanfeng sent a message to Xiao Luo. Do you remember that we once encountered a strange thing? Some beasts were dismembered, and the cuts were smooth and flat? The beeping sound just now was Xiao Luo's reply. Xiao Luo, remember. After you went into seclusion, I also found a similar situation in the ancient forest. Nanfeng, did you investigate who did it? Xiao Luo, I checked, but found nothing. Do you have any clues? Nanfeng, I suspect it was Yunfei. There's something wrong with him. He seems to be resurrecting the dead. Chapter 855. Chat channel in Nanfeng. There is a very strange town in the mountains northwest of Wuhai City. Do you know anything about it? Xiao Luo. Things in Wuhai City are basically handled by Yunfei, Xiao Hongran, Cheng Mo and others. I don't pay much attention to it. Nanfeng. Okay, then you can ask Cheng Mo later to see if he knows about the situation in this town. Xiao Luo. Okay. After ending this brief chat, Nanfeng pondered for a moment and jumped down from the roof lightly. He quietly came to the kitchen door and looked inside. There was a mother and daughter in the kitchen, standing next to a large iron pot drinking bone soup. It was late at night, and the surroundings were quiet, with only the slurping sound of the mother and daughter drinking soup. This feeling was a bit weird. Mom, I feel more and more hungry recently. The little girl said, I'm still hungry after eating 7 or 8 meals a day. The woman gently comforted, It's okay, Xiaofei, Master Yunfei gave you a lot of food, enough for you to eat for a lifetime. Xiaofei pouted, a little unhappy. I don't want to stay here forever, Mom. When can we leave here? The woman thought for a while, and said seriously, After Master Yunfei solves our physical problems, we can leave here and go home. Xiaofei sighed, nodded helplessly, and continued to drink soup and eat meat with big mouthfuls, her mouth full of oil. It is early September now. The weather is a bit hot and humid, and Xiaofei is wearing a short-sleeved shirt. Nanfeng's eyes swept back and forth on Xiaofei's arm twice, and found no traces of needlework. This little girl doesn't seem to be a stitched monster. Nanfeng thought to himself. Unfortunately, both of them had their backs to Nanfeng, so he couldn't see their faces. After thinking for a moment, Nanfeng gently knocked on the window. The mother and daughter in the kitchen heard the noise, and turned their heads to look out the window. Mom, did you hear any sound just now? Xiaofei huddled in her mother's arms, a little scared. Could there be a ghost? The woman touched Xiaofei's head. Don't scare yourself. As she spoke, the woman picked up the frying pan beside her, and walked out of the kitchen carefully. The small courtyard was empty and very quiet. No one. The sound just now was probably caused by the wind. The woman returned to the kitchen, and continued to drink soup with the little girl. On the roof, Nanfeng looked solemn. He just saw the faces of the mother and daughter clearly. The memory that had passed for more than 500 years once again appeared in front of him. Is it them? Nanfeng murmured in a low voice. Yunfei resurrected them? How did he do it? In the morning, Long Yuan, who hadn't slept all night, got up early. Little handsome boy, you got up so early. Xiaofei was washing clothes in the yard. When she saw Long Yuan, she showed a cute smile. Mom is making breakfast, and it will be ready soon. Breakfast. Long Yuan thought of the stitched monster next door, and suddenly lost his appetite. Long Yuan, eating so early, Auntie is really diligent. Xiaofei smiled. My mother made the meat buns by herself. They are delicious. You must eat more later. Meat buns? Long Yuan felt nauseous again. He said politely, Well, I don't have the habit of eating breakfast, so I won't eat it. Little handsome boy, It's wrong for you to do this. You must eat breakfast. Xiao Fei began to lecture him in a condescending manner. Xiao Fei, you started washing clothes at such a young age? Long Yuan quickly changed the subject. By the way, I didn't see your father yesterday. Where is he? Xiao Fei was a little sad when she heard this question. My father died. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring this up. Long Yuan scratched his head embarrassedly. Actually, my father is dead too. Ah. Little handsome boy, are you also a child without a father? Xiao Fei was surprised. Yes, my father died the day I was born. Long Yuan's tone was very calm. But Xiao Fei still noticed that Long Yuan was a little sad. She stretched out her little fist and encouraged. It's okay, we still have Mom. Mom is very hard alone. Little handsome boy, you must remember that you must be filial to your mother when you grow up. Be filial to your mother. Long Yuan was a little dazed, and he thought of his mother Lin Mimi. In fact, he spent very little time with his mother Lin Mimi. Lin Mimi was very busy. So busy that she had no time to accompany Long Yuan, and she could only see him once or twice a year. So when Xiao Fei mentioned the word filial, Long Yuan was a little dazed for a while, not knowing what to do. Little handsome boy, are you okay? Xiao Fei saw Long Yuan standing there blankly, and her heart tightened. Could it be that your mother? Oh no, my mother is fine. Long Yuan came back to his senses, and explained with a chuckle. You scared me. Xiao Fei patted her chest and said proudly, my mother is fine too. My mother is the best in the world. Long Yuan was touched. How many children can say proudly that my mother is the best in the world? Is my mother the best in the world? Long Yuan thought silently in his heart. In the kitchen, Xiao Fei's mother called the two of them softly. Xiao Fei, Xiao Shui, it's time for breakfast. Yeah, time to eat. Xiao Fei happily threw away the clothes in her hands and rushed into the kitchen. Long Yuan stood there hesitant. If he didn't eat, it would feel a bit disrespectful. After all, this couple is still very good to each other. If he eats, he will feel a little nauseous. Don't worry, the food is fine. Nan Feng's voice sounded in Long Yuan's ears. Long Yuan looked around and didn't see Nan Feng. Uncle Nan, have you been spying on me in secret? Long Yuan whispered, when I was peeping this morning, you didn't peek, did you? TSK. Na Feng sneered, I saw it. Long Yuan shrank his clothes and hurried to the kitchen. There's a pervert here. In fact, Na Feng didn't peek at Long Yuan's pee. He left the town last night and walked around the surrounding mountains. He just came back a few minutes ago. Even if Na Feng stayed in the town, he wouldn't peek at Long Yuan's pee. He was afraid of getting sty. Long Yuan went to have breakfast, and Na Feng wandered around the town. He walked around the surrounding mountains last night and found no useful information. Today, Na Feng plans to search this town. There should be no danger in Long Yuan. Don't worry about him. Na Feng came out of Xiu Fei's house and quietly walked into a house at the easternmost end of the town. He planned to explore from east to west, door to door. In this town, no one's eyes can keep up with Na Feng's speed. Even if Na Feng wanders around in front of others, no one can find him. It took Na Feng a whole morning to visit every household in the town. There was an empty, uninhabited courtyard in the northwest corner, which caught Na Feng's attention. No one lives in this courtyard. Why didn't Yunfei arrange Long Yuan here? Na Feng returned to the uninhabited courtyard and checked it again. This time he was very serious, and actually found a secret door. Behind the secret door was a very long staircase that went all the way down, bottomless, as if leading to the abyss. Na Feng walked down calmly. The staircase was very long, extending about 40 to 50 meters down before reaching the end. There was an iron door at the end, with all kinds of messy patterns carved on it, which Na Feng could not understand. The Creator God system has no translation, which means this is not the language of this world. Na Feng murmured. He gently pushed the iron door. Creak! The door was not locked, and it was easily pushed open. A chill came from behind the door. Na Feng held his breath and walked in lightly. Tick-tick. The sound of water drops echoed in Na Feng's ears. The secret room was very dark, but for Na Feng, the darkness in front of him was not dark enough. Compared with the darkness of the eternal night sea, this place was far worse. He didn't even need any light to see the scene in the secret room. Nima. Na Feng took a breath of cold air. This place was full of human corpses, as well as various limbs and organs. The temperature in the secret room was extremely low, freezing all these things and slowing down their decay. Na Feng frowned. How many people have you killed? Yunfei, what are you doing? He walked slowly forward to the only table in the secret room. The table was empty, with only a diary on it. Under the extremely low temperature, a thick layer of frost had formed on the surface of the diary. Is this the diary written by Yunfei? Nanfeng ignited a wisp of demon flame in his hand, melted the diary, and then gently opened it. The first page of the diary read, Year 5 of the Dragon Calendar, January 26th. My name is Yunfei, I think. Forget it, I don't want to write anymore. Who would write a diary? Nanfeng, Nanfeng flipped through the entire diary from beginning to end. Except for the 2 sentences on the first page, the rest was blank. Damn, will I die if I write 2 more sentences? Nanfeng threw the diary back on the table speechlessly. He wanted to find out Yunfei's true thoughts and intentions through this diary. But he didn't expect this guy to be so lazy that he only wrote 2 lines in a good diary. I really want to beat him until he cries. Duh. Nanfeng's ears moved, and he heard footsteps in the yard outside. He pondered for a moment, then quietly hid behind a corpse. Huh? Why is the door of the warehouse open? I don't know, maybe someone went in to take something and forgot to close the door? Who is so careless? Don't you know that the things inside should be frozen and preserved? The conversation between the 2 people reached Nanfeng's ears. They walked down the stairs while talking. Creak! The iron door was pushed open, and 2 figures walked in one after the other. Among them was a person who walked with a limp, and Nanfeng recognized him as the stitched monster who broke his leg last night. The other strong man was also from the town. Nanfeng had seen him several times. His name seemed to be Dahu. Go quickly and pick a better leg. Your broken leg should have been replaced long ago. Dahu urged, it's really cold here. Hurry up. The stitched monster limped into the secret room and looked for a suitable leg among the many broken limbs. This leg is good. The stitched monster picked up a frozen leg and limped out of the secret room again. The 2 came quickly and left quickly. Before leaving, they did not forget to close the big iron door. Thanks to Lord Yunfei, a large number of spare limbs were stored here, otherwise I would have become a cripple. Cripple? If it weren't for Lord Yunfei, you and I would have died long ago. That's true. The 2 talked and walked away, leaving the courtyard. Nanfeng walked out from behind the corpse, and stayed in the secret room for a while, observing these broken limbs. The incision is very smooth, exactly the same as the beast found before. Nanfeng gradually began to guess. He began to simulate Yunfei's mental journey and explore his inner thoughts. When Sakura Taro attacked Mukong City, except for Yunfei who survived by chance, all the other brothers died under Sakura Taro's knife, and their deaths were miserable, and no body was intact. Yunfei couldn't accept this fact, and he began to look for various ways to revive his companions. First, the bodies of his companions must be restored to their original state. He used ferocious beasts to practice, cutting off the limbs of different ferocious beasts and sewing them together. Once you become proficient, sew up the limbs of your companions. Then, there is a question here. Even if you have a body, how can Yunfei revive the dead? Does he still have this ability? Or does he have an accomplice? The people in this town should all be resurrected by Yunfei, at least the mother and daughter must be. If Yunfei and his accomplices can really revive the dead, then they have a motive for kidnapping Long Yuan. They want to revive Long Wudi. No, the relationship between Yunfei and Brother Long is just an acquaintance at most. But he watched Long Yuan grow up. There is no reason for him to kill Long Yuan in order to revive Long Wudi. The problem should be with his accomplice. It is his accomplice who wants to revive Long Wudi. His accomplice is most likely from Longcheng, and most likely a high-ranking official in Longcheng. Flying Eagle, Mad Wolf, or... Nanfeng's brain was spinning rapidly, and he began to recall everything that happened in the past 2 days. He keenly noticed that Long Yuan was also a little abnormal. In the tea house in Wuhai City, Nanfeng sent a message to Long Yuan. Ask Yunfei, who wants to kill you, but Long Yuan hesitated for a while, and did not ask. Just now at Xiufei's house, when Xiaofei said that her mother was the best in the world, Long Yuan was obviously a little abnormal. And what Minian said to Long Yuan. These doubts combined made Nanfeng have a bold guess that Long Yuan might have guessed who wanted his life. And that person. Nanfeng shook his head slightly. He felt that his guess was a bit too bold. In short, Yunfei should be one of the masterminds behind the kidnapping of Long Yuan. As for who his accomplice is, guessing is a waste of brain cells, so just ask him directly. Nanfeng left the underground secret room and flew directly towards Wuhai City. Chapter 856. At first, Nanfeng didn't want to expose himself, because he suspected that the person who kidnapped Long Yuan was either Suoya Na or Emperor Zun. If it was these 2 people, Nanfeng's best choice would be to hide in the dark. Showing up rashly would only alert the other party, and be calculated by them. However, according to the investigation during this period, all this seems to have nothing to do with Suo Na and Emperor Zun. The people who kidnapped Long Yuan were most likely Yun Fei and his accomplices. Now that there is a conclusion, Nanfeng doesn't need to be so cautious. It would be a waste of time to continue investigating secretly, so I could just ask Yun Fei directly. If there is any misunderstanding, I can explain it in person. The town is only 180 kilometers away from Wuhai City, and Nanfeng has arrived above Wuhai City in the blink of an eye. He looked down at the city, looking for Yun Fei's trace. Nowhere. Yun Fei is not in Wuhai City? Nanfeng frowned slightly, opened the panel, and chatted with Yun Fei directly. Nanfeng, where are you? After a moment, Yun Fei replied with a message. Nanshin, have you come out of seclusion? Nanfeng, yes, I'm in Wuhai City, where are you? Come to Wuhai City to see me immediately. There was silence for a long time. After 10 minutes, Yun Fei replied, Sorry, Nanshin, I have something important to do now, I come to see you later. Nanfeng's face darkened. Open the teleportation array, if there is anything important, I will help you solve it. Yun Fei no longer replied. Alas. Nanfeng sighed slightly. Are you fleeing for fear of crime? Or is there something really important? Yun Fei. Nanfeng spread out his perception, covering a very large area with Wuhai City as the center. But in his perception, he did not find any trace of Yun Fei. Is it the same as that big ship? Nanfeng sent a message to Xiao Luo. Yun Fei ran away, come to Wuhai City, and help me find him. Xiao Luo replied quickly, Okay. Do you want to call more brothers to help? Nanfeng, no, the two of us are enough. By the way, what is Lin Mimi doing recently? Xiao Luo, handling internal affairs, staying at home, what's wrong? Nanfeng, well, nothing, I go see Yun Fei in person after I find her. That's it, you come first. Xiao Luo, I be there soon. Nanfeng turned off the panel, played with the clouds for 2 minutes, and Xiao Luo arrived at Wuhai City. Do you know Yun Fei's approximate location? Xiao Luo asked. I don't know. Nanfeng shook his head slightly. I guess he is near Wuhai City. Let's find him bit by bit. The two did not hesitate, and began to search slowly around Wuhai City. There is a Tianding City about 700 to 800 kilometers northwest of Wuhai City. Tianding City is one of the most prosperous cities in the Haoyue Empire. Its economy, trade, infrastructure, etc. are among the best in the entire empire. At this time, a ferocious thunder beast, pulling an extremely luxurious carriage, slowly walked out of the city. The mayor, deputy mayor, and general of the city defense of Tianding City all stood respectfully on both sides of the carriage to see it off. In the carriage, a boy of 17 or 18 years old opened the curtain and said, Lord City Lord, after 1,000 days of seeing you off, we will have to say goodbye. You can go back. The Lord of Tianding City said respectfully, Since His Highness D. Fan has said so, we will not be hypocritical. When His Highness D. Fan returns to the imperial capital, please say a few good words to the Emperor. In the carriage, D. Fan smiled slightly, of course. Lord City Lord, the mountains and rivers remain unchanged, and we will meet again if we are lucky. Thunder Beast snored, and its muscular legs kicked the ground fiercely, pulling the carriage straight into the sky, and soon disappeared from everyone's sight. The Lord of Tianding City watched the carriage leave, and slowly exhaled. Finally, we sent this little ancestor away. Behind him, the burly general of the city defense said, Lord, he is the prince of the Falling Sun Empire, not the Bright Moon Empire. Why should we be so respectful to him, and let him say a few good words in front of the Emperor? Humph, can the Emperor control us? You are a big brute. Your brain is not even as big as an egg. Before the Lord of the city spoke, the deputy lord of the city took the lead and said, The Bright Moon Empire has long been in name only. There are the chosen ones inside who are fighting for territory, and the Falling Sun Empire outside who is eyeing them covetously. There is only one level 46 warrior in the Moon Palace. How can we fight against the Emperor? The city lord nodded slowly. Old Two is right. Our Haoyue Empire will sooner or later be incorporated into the territory of the Falling Sun Empire. This time, the Emperor sent His Highness D. Fan to study in the Haoyue Empire, which is to tell us that he is ready to take action. Among the three empires today, the Falling Sun Empire is the only one, and the other two countries combined are not the opponent of the Falling Sun Empire. The reason is that the Falling Sun Empire has an unrivaled strongman, the Emperor. It's like the Falling Sun Empire has nuclear bombs, but the other two countries don't. This gap cannot be made up by numbers. The emperor only needs to move his fingers slightly to destroy the Halyue Empire and the Wadika Empire. The reason why he didn't do this is that rashly using force to unify the world may cause public resentment and cause the people to lose their hearts. Over the years, he has been instilling an idea in the civilians all over the world, that is, only the emperor can fight against alien races. He was subtly changing the people of the other two countries, making them lose their sense of belonging to their own country. The effect of this was also very obvious. The civilians of the other two countries were trying every means to move to the falling Sun Empire. Those who really had no conditions to move were praying silently in their hearts, hoping that the army of the falling Sun Empire would come quickly and incorporate their hometown into the territory of the falling Sun Empire. The emperor had been planning for 7 years, and now he felt that the time was ripe. But if he wanted to get rid of the current Moon Emperor and King Wadika, he still needed an excuse. So the emperor adopted an adopted son, Defan. He asked Defan to travel around the world in the name of studying, which was actually telling the world, I am ready to take action, those who follow me will prosper, those who go against me will perish, understand? How could the city lords of various countries not know what the emperor meant? They flattered Defan and tried their best to show goodwill to the emperor, hoping that when the emperor unified the world, they could still retain their own city lord positions. The arm cannot twist the thigh, and going against the emperor will only lead to death. Submitting to the emperor is the wise move. This world has been peaceful for 7 years, and now it seems that it is about to change again. The city lord of Tianding City murmured. In the sky, Thunder Beast pulling the carriage and running wildly above the clouds, it is going to the next city, Wuhai City. Chapter 857. Inside the carriage, Defan calmly looked out the window and said to himself, I heard that Wuhai City is a city controlled by the Chosen One. It should be quite interesting. I will stay in Wuhai City for a few days, and then set off to return to the imperial capital. I don't have much time left. Lord Emperor, are you not ready to take action? In fact, Defan came to the Halyue Empire this time for another very important mission, which is to die here. In this way, the Emperor will have a perfect excuse to attack the Halyue Empire. But what surprised Defan was that he had traveled through most of the Halyue Empire, but the Emperor had not sent anyone to kill him. If he continued to drag on like this, he would have to return to the falling Sun Empire. Forget it, the Emperor's mind is unfathomable, how can I guess it? Defan thought to himself, perhaps, the killer is already waiting for me in Wuhai City. Defan knew that his life had begun the final countdown. Wuhai City is very likely his grave. Huh? Defan looked at the scenery outside the window, and suddenly cried out in surprise. He saw a small town in the vast mountains. This town seemed to be completely isolated from the outside world, and there was no way out. How can there be so many families in such a ravine? Defan was a little confused. Perhaps it was because of curiosity, or perhaps because he wanted to live a few more days. Defan said softly, Xiao Lei, let's go down and take a look. The Thunder Beast pulling the cart snorted, swooped down, and landed on the streets of the town. Who is it? Damn, such a luxurious carriage. It's obvious that the owner is rich. Using a beast to pull the carriage, 666. Thunder Beast made a lot of noise, and the residents of the town gathered around to watch the fun. Defan lifted a corner of the curtain and looked out. A group of strange villagers, boring, Defan thought to himself. Xiao Lei, let's go. Defan said softly to Thunder Beast. Thunder Beast, who had just rested for less than half a minute, set out on a journey again. A few minutes ago, Long Yuan was practicing boxing in Xiao Fei's yard. A flash of lightning suddenly flashed in the sky, and then a fierce beast pulled a carriage and landed on the street of the town. Oh my god, a lightning beast? The Emperor's mount? Long Yuan was shocked. Are you kidding? Why would the Emperor come to this remote place? Is he here to find me? No, I am nothing. He should be here to find Uncle Nan. Long Yuan walked to the entrance of the yard carefully and looked at the carriage on the street. He slowly spread his senses and found that the person in the car was only about level 26. Not the Emperor? Who else could it be? Long Yuan thought to himself, who is so brave that he dares to use the Thunder Beast as a mount? Aren't you afraid of being killed by the Emperor's finger? The carriage did not stay for long. After about half a minute, it set off again and flew towards Wuhai City. It's really strange. Long Yuan rolled his eyes and called softly, Uncle Nan, did you see that carriage? Uncle Nan? Are you still there, Uncle Nan? Hello? Is anyone there? Hello? No matter how Long Yuan called out, he could not get a response from Nan Feng. Nan Feng seemed to have left this town. No, you left without telling me? Long Yuan muttered, you left me here all alone. After Thunder Beast left, The people who were originally watching the excitement also dispersed. The stitched monster who lived next door jumped past Long Yuan. "Xiao Shui, come to my house for dinner tonight." The stitched monster grinned, revealing 2 big front teeth that didn't match well. Long Yuan quickly waved his hand to refuse. "No, no, Xiao Fei's mother has already prepared the meal." "Then come to my house for dinner tomorrow." The stitched monster said again, "You are Mr. Yunfei's guest, so you are my guest, I must treat you well." Long Yuan knew that he couldn't escape this meal, so he could only show a fake smile. "Well, okay, thank you, uncle." "Well, why are you being so polite to me?" "My name is Agui, you can just call me Uncle Gui." The stitched monster said goodbye to Long Yuan, and skipped back home. Long Yuan looked at his right leg, and fell into deep thought. This leg seems to be different from the one last night. Xiao Fei ran out of the room, and whispered to Long Yuan, "Handsome boy, are you going to Uncle Gui's house for dinner tomorrow?" "Of course not, I will run away as soon as the sun rises tomorrow." Long Yuan thought so in his heart, but still said, "Yes, it's hard to refuse such a kind invitation." "Okay, then you." Xiao Fei hesitated for a moment, and said, "Then remember to eat more vegetables and less meat." Long Yuan was shocked when he heard this. Ren meat. The stitched monster next door must want to treat him to ren meat. "It's terrible, this town is terrible. No, I can't wait until tomorrow, I will run away as soon as it gets dark tonight." At this moment, Long Yuan didn't want to stay in this town for a second. Boom! Suddenly, there was lightning and thunder in the sky in the distance. Long Yuan turned his head, and saw that the luxurious carriage that had just landed in the town had become carriage fragments, falling from the sky with a crash. Among these fragments, Long Yuan vaguely saw a panicked young man. Roar! Above the clouds, the thunder beast let out a huge roar. Beside it was a man in black, who casually swung his palm and smashed the thunder beast's skull. "Little Thunder!" Defan cried out in pain. But the thunder beast had lost its vitality, and could no longer respond to him. "Die!" A thunder ball condensed in the palm of the man in black, and smashed it towards the free-falling Defan. Swish! A ray of knife energy penetrated the sky, cut the thunder ball, and saved Defan's life. This sharp knife energy startled the man in black. In that remote town far away, there was actually such a master? This knife power can only be cut by a strong man of at least level 45. Which senior is here? The man in black shouted, "This is our family affair. I hope the senior will not interfere." Long Yuan lowered his voice, and said in a deep voice, "Get lost." The man in black looked cold. "Damn it, you have to look at the owner before you beat the dog. You dare to tell me to get out? Do you know who I work for?" Of course, he couldn't say such words, it was a bit embarrassing. The black-clothed man rolled his eyes, and suddenly attacked, and another thunder ball was aimed at Defan. Swish! The sharp sword energy penetrated the sky here. The black-clothed man's right arm lost connection with his body, and fell straight down. Hiss! The black-clothed man took a breath and said coldly, "No matter who you are dead." After saying that, he swooped down to pick up his right arm, turned around and fled far away. In Shifei's yard. Long Yuan murmured, "It's the man in black again. I was beaten by the man in black a few days ago, and I'm still angry. You're hanging around in front of me, aren't you asking for a beating?" He put away the wooden sword and flew quickly to the place where Defan fell. If I remember correctly, this guy is only level 26. I don't know if he can survive after falling from such a high place. Chapter 858. Long Yuan was as swift as a cheetah, running through the deep mountains and old forests. It should be here. Long Yuan estimated that the boy fell nearby. He gradually slowed down, looking around. After a while, he found Defan, who was dying, at the foot of a small hill. There were a lot of broken branches around Defan. It can be imagined that if there were no such branches to cushion the fall, Defan would have died. "Friend, are you still breathing?" Long Yuan jumped nimbly in the forest, came to Defan and squatted down. Defan had fallen into a coma and could not answer. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth, and he seemed to be dying. "You are so lucky to meet me." The magic power in Long Yuan's body poured into his palm, and small light dots of light green surrounded his palm. These green light dots were like elves, happily entering Defan's body and healing his injuries. Long Yuan's face was slightly grim. He felt that Defan was seriously injured, his internal organs were damaged to varying degrees, and all 24 ribs were broken, not a single one was intact. Falling from a height of nearly 10,000 meters was indeed fatal for this rookie, who was only level 26. While rescuing him, Long Yuan muttered to himself, "Fortunately, I am here. If it was Uncle Nan, you would be dead. Although Uncle Nan is powerful, he is far behind me in curing diseases and saving lives. Because Uncle Nan equals master, and because I am greater than Uncle Nan, so I am greater than master. Haha, I'm a master. Long Yuan mumbled for a long time, and finally came to this incredible conclusion. 2 minutes later, Di Fan, who was in a coma, coughed violently. Cough, cough. Cough. He spit out a large mouthful of blood, mixed with broken internal organs. After spitting out this mouthful of blood, Di Fan's face immediately looked much better. He looked at Long Yuan and asked weakly, "You saved me? If you're not blind, you should be able to see it, right?" Long Yuan smiled. "Remember to pay the medical bills." Di Fan raised his hand tremblingly, trying to push Long Yuan away. Don't save me." Long Yuan was stunned. "I'm not a buddy. You want money but not life? Forget it. Forget it. I won't charge you for medical expenses, okay?" Cough, cough. Cough. Di Fan coughed violently again. Long Yuan said, "You are seriously injured. Don't talk for now. Just lie down obediently." Di Fan coughed for a long time before he recovered. He lay on the ground, staring at Long Yuan blankly, and asked, "Why did you save me? When I see injustice, I will take action when it is time to take action." Long Yuan replied casually. 17 or 18-year-old boys are full of passion. Long Yuan simply couldn't stand people bullying the weak, so he chose to help, without so many reasons. "So," Di Fan pondered, "are you a saint? See one, save one? Hey, I saved you. You say I am a saint? You want to be beaten, right?" Long Yuan wanted to punch Di Fan. But considering his small body, he might be beaten into a meat pie by a punch, so Long Yuan finally held back. "The world is bustling for profit, and the world is bustling for profit," Di Fan said calmly. "All human behavior cannot escape the word profit. No one will unconditionally save a stranger unless he can benefit from it. What do you want from me?" Long Yuan almost laughed out of anger. "I charge you for medical expenses, but you won't let me save you. I won't charge you for medical expenses, but you suspect I have other intentions. This guy is mentally abnormal." Long Yuan rolled his eyes and said, "Haha, in fact, I saved you for selfish reasons." Di Fan sneered, "I know what you want. I just saw that your mount is a thunder beast." Long Yuan said, "It is well known that only the Di family in the world uses thunder beast as a mount. You should also be a member of the Di family, right? With your relationship, I will have no worries about food and clothing in the future." Di Fan said calmly, "My name is Di Fan." Long Yuan exclaimed, "Di Fan? Are you the adopted son of Emperor Zun?" As the young master of Longcheng, Long Yuan knew a little about the main figures of the major empires. 7 years ago, Emperor Zun adopted a child in a high-profile manner and named him Di Fan. This incident caused an uproar in the primitive world. After all, who doesn't want to be the son of Emperor Zun and call him dad? People envy Di Fan and want to become Di Fan. "My God, you are the adopted son of Emperor Zun?" Long Yuan was a little shocked. "Who was the man in black just now? He dared to kill you. Isn't he afraid of being exterminated by Emperor Zun?" At this point, Long Yuan's expression was a little strange. He vaguely guessed something incredible. "From your expression, I guessed it." Di Fan sneered, "Yes, the man in black just now was sent by Emperor Zun to kill me." Long Yuan took a breath. "Is Emperor Zun going to attack Haiyu Empire?" Di Fan raised his eyebrows and looked at Long Yuan with a high opinion. "You are quite smart." "Of course." Long Yuan was very proud. "When I was 3 years old, Aunt Nan tested my IQ. She said that even if my IQ was subtracted by 99, it could still be defined as extremely smart. If you are really smart, you should kill me." Di Fan said, "If you save me, not only will you not get any benefit, but you will anger the emperor." Long Yuan shrugged. "If he is angry, then he will be angry. I am not afraid of him." Di Fan was shocked. He walked along the way, passing through dozens of cities. Even those city lords, who were in high positions, were terrified when they heard the name of the emperor, fearing that they would say something wrong and offend the emperor. This young man in front of him actually said that he was not afraid of the emperor. He is really a newborn calf. It's almost out of danger. Long Yuan withdrew his hand and said with relief, "The remaining injuries need to be slowly healed. You come back to the town with me first." Di Fan shook his head. "I came to the Haiyu Empire this time just to die here. Even if you cure me, I will commit suicide, so there is no need to waste your energy." Long Yuan was too lazy to talk nonsense. He directly carried Di Fan on his shoulders and strode towards the town. "You have died once just now your life is mine. I won't let you die, and you can't die." In the sky outside Wuhai City, Xiao Luo, who was looking for Yun Fei everywhere, suddenly turned his head and looked to the northwest. Who is Long Yuan fighting with again? Xiao Luo whispered, could it be Yun Fei? This place is not far from the town, and Nafeng also sensed the battle waves coming from there. He made a surprise attack. He really wants to kill Long Yuan. Nafeng was a little angry. Let's go and take a look. Xiao Luo nodded, and was about to leave, when he suddenly discovered something, and reached out to stop Nafeng. Wait, look in the direction of Wuhai City. Chapter 859. Wuhai City? Nafeng looked down at Wuhai City below. He saw a dozen black-clothed men of level 40 rising from the grove outside the city, and heading straight for the town. Another black-clothed man? An accomplice of Yun Fei? Nafeng whispered. Let's go and see. Xiao Luo said softly. The two flew above the clouds, following the group of black-clothed men silently. In the town, Long Yuan carried Di Fan back to Xiao Fei's yard. Just now, Long Yuan slashed at the black-clad man in the sky with a knife, and then he left the town in a chic and handsome manner. Everyone in the town could guess that Long Yuan was going to save someone. Little handsome boy, did you save someone? Xiao Fei came up happily. Quick, quick, get him into the house. Xiao Fei's mother also walked over quickly. She saw Di Fan covered in blood and showed a distressed expression. Oh, what a poor kid, stop the bleeding for him. Long Yuan smiled and said, don't worry, I have treated his wounds, this kid will not die. Long Yuan put Di Fan down, and let him sit on the chair in the yard to rest. Little brother, do you want some water? Xiao Fei brought a glass of boiled water. Di Fan waved his hand, and looked at Long Yuan weakly. Do you know what this will bring to this town? Long Yuan raised his eyebrows. Can they still massacre this town? Di Fan nodded gently. Yes, because the people in this town may know the truth of the matter. So they will definitely massacre the town, and not even a bug can get out alive. Long Yuan frowned. He seemed to have underestimated the cruelty of the emperor. Outside Xiao Fei's yard, many villagers gathered. They were all panicked when they heard what Di Fan said. No way, massacre of the town? Are we going to experience this terrible thing again? Don't panic, contact Master Yun Fei quickly, he will protect us. Where did you pick up this unlucky star? Don't let it kill us all. Listening to the villagers' discussion, Long Yuan frowned even more. Seeing this, Di Fan said calmly, there is only one way to save this town. That is to kill me before they come and throw my body in the wilderness. In this way, perhaps this town can gain a glimmer of hope. Long Yuan looked at him helplessly. Do you really want to die? Di Fan was stunned for a moment, and nodded gently. If it weren't for him, I would have frozen to death 7 years ago. He gave me this life, and it is only right to give it back to him now. Long Yuan sighed. Then do you know how many civilians in the Hallyu Empire will die with you when you die? Di Fan tilted his head, and looked at Long Yuan in confusion. What does their life and death have to do with you? Do you know them? Or do they owe you money? My previous evaluation may not be correct. I think you are not a saint, you are a saint bitch. Long Yuan was unable to refute for a while. So I am a saint bitch? Long Yuan fell into deep thought. Look at those people outside the courtyard. They should all be your relatives and friends, right? Di Fan said again, you don't care about their life and death, but you want to save those strangers you have never met? What do you think you are? A living Buddha? A great hero who saves the world? Ridiculous. Long Yuan was silent. After a few seconds, he slowly said, I think what you said makes sense. He carried Di Fan again, and rushed out of the town quickly in the puzzled eyes of everyone. You are right. I shouldn't let the residents of the town fall into danger because of you. Long Yuan said. You are not too stupid. Di Fan said softly, after killing me, throw my body farther away, maybe you can save the residents of the town. Who said I want to kill you? Long Yuan said, if you die, the Hallyu Empire will be devastated. I will not allow this to happen. Di Fan sneered. You won't allow it? Do you think you can stop the emperor? Long Yuan thought seriously. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Everyone wants me to be the second Long Wudi. I think if he were here, he would make the same choice, right? Di Fan was stunned. What did he hear just now? Those 3 words. You are the young master of Dragon City Long Yuan? Di Fan said in disbelief. Oh, have you heard my story? Long Yuan grinned. It seems that I am still very famous. No wonder. Di Fan whispered in a low voice. No wonder this young man has no fear of the emperor. It turns out that he is not a newborn calf, but a newborn dragon. Are you sure you want to be an enemy of the emperor for me? Di Fan was full of doubts. In recent years, the relationship between the Falling Sun Empire and your Dragon City has been quite pleasant. If you do this, It is very likely that Long Cheng will be doomed to failure. Long Yuan paused. Yes, he is the young master of Long Cheng. If he is the enemy of Emperor Zun, it means that Long Cheng will be the enemy of Emperor Zun. Can he bear the consequences? Your and my identities are destined to prevent us from acting according to our own ideas, like ordinary people. Defan said softly, kill me. For you, this is the most correct choice. Long Yuan stood there, hesitating. Just as Defan said, the suffering of the people in the Haoyue Empire has nothing to do with him. He is the young master of Long Cheng, and will be the master of Long Cheng in the future. All the decisions he makes should be based on the interests of Long Cheng. Thinking of this, Long Yuan gently put Defan down. That's right. Defan tried to stand up straight and straighten his back. From the looks of you, you probably can't do it. It doesn't matter, you go, I will kill myself. Long Yuan didn't say anything, but silently took out a longbow from his backpack. He pulled the longbow to its full length, forming a perfect circle, and aimed at the sky. Defan was stunned, and looked up at the sky, only to see a dozen men in black flying rapidly from a distance. Long Yuan, what do you want to do? Defan exclaimed, are you sure you want to be the enemy of Emperor Zun for me? Not for you. Long Yuan shook his head gently. I don't know you well, how could I be the enemy of Emperor Zun for you? I am following my heart. My dream since I was a child is to become a great hero like my father. Emperor Zun, I am not afraid of you. Thunderbolt arrow. Long Yuan let go of his hand, and the violent lightning element arrow rushed straight into the sky. Defan stared at Long Yuan's back in a daze. The first time I saw a young man pulling the bow to his full length, he was not afraid of strong enemies or wind. Chapter 860. Thunder arrows, ice arrows, wind arrows, rockets. Long Yuan's hand was so fast that after images appeared, and dense elemental arrows shot straight into the sky. In midair, more than a dozen men in black scattered, and none of these elemental arrows hit them. TSK. One of the men in black sneered, how can a mere level 39 hurt us? These men in black are all level 40 warriors. There is a very difficult gap between level 39 and level 40. It is too difficult to cross this gap and defeat the opponent. Even the level 39 Long Woody can only fight against the level 40 Strong. He can fight and run, but it is difficult to defeat, let alone kill. On the boat before, Long Yuan was able to kill 2 level 43 black-clothed men because he had Xiao Luo's wooden sword in his hand. This is just like a child holding a pistol and having the opportunity to kill an adult. But these are external forces, and this power does not belong to them. Once he does not use the wooden sword, Long Yuan will not be able to be the opponent of this group of level 40 strong men. In the sky, the men in black spotted Defan behind Long Yuan. They surrounded Long Yuan and Defan in the middle. The leading man in black said coldly, Your Highness Defan, I hope you didn't expose our identities. Defan was silent for a moment, and said softly, He doesn't know your identities, let him go. The man in black nodded indifferently, waved his hand. Kill them all, leave no one alive. Swish. More than a dozen men in black swooped down in unison, killing with all their moves. Long Yuan raised his head and shouted, Eyes sealed 1,000 miles. The pendant hanging around his neck emitted a cold light. Instantly, with Long Yuan as the center, the biting cold wind began to howl, and extreme coldness descended on the world. The black-clothed man's body was instantly covered with frost, and became extremely slow. Almost at the moment when he shouted Eyes sealed 1,000 miles, the longbow in Long Yuan's hand disappeared, replaced by an exquisite wooden sword. The reason why the wooden sword was not used at the beginning was because the black-clothed man was far away from Long Yuan, and he might not be able to cut him with one sword. In addition, the sword energy stored in the wooden sword was actually not much, so Long Yuan had to use it sparingly. So Long Yuan first bent his bow, and put on an arrow, showing weakness to the enemy, and letting the black-clothed man relax his vigilance. At this time, more than a dozen black-clothed men all surrounded him, and it was a good time to use the sword. To be on the safe side, Long Yuan also used the skill of Ice Pendant first, and waited for the black-clothed man to slow down before using this fatal sword. Swish! Instant, before the sword light appeared, the head had fallen to the ground. The slash was completed in an instant, from the sword to the sword, and these level 40 black-clothed men had no time to react. Boom, 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 8 headless corpses fell from the sky, and then their heads fell down. Long Yuan only swung his sword and killed 8 black-clothed men. This scene shocked everyone present, and the remaining 6 black-clothed men retreated hundreds of meters, and distanced themselves from Long Yuan. Long Yuan put his hands behind his back, with a master's demeanor, and coldly spat out one word, Get lost. It must be said that he looked really cool, and the rest of the black-clothed men were stunned. Only Di Fan knew that Long Yuan was pretending. He stood behind Long Yuan, and saw clearly that Long Yuan's right hand was shaking so badly that he could hardly hold the wooden sword. The previous sword had drained most of his strength. Will they be scared away? Di Fan looked at the black-clothed man in the air, and thought silently in his heart. A desire to survive suddenly rose in his heart. Who would want to die if they can live? What a powerful sword. The leading black-clothed man stared at Long Yuan coldly. Level 39, wooden sword. The sword energy is enough to kill a level 40 strongman in seconds. Hee, I didn't expect that the young master of Longcheng, who has been missing for many days, would be in such a mountain valley. Long Yuan raised his eyebrows. Since you have guessed my identity, then get out of here. Otherwise, I will hit you with another sword, and you will definitely die. If His Highness Di Fan doesn't die, do you think we can live? The black-clothed man said coldly, if you die here, our family can still live. If we go back like this, our whole family will die, and we may even be killed. What do you think we will choose? Long Yuan sighed slightly. This is trouble. This damn emperor actually threatened their families, and killed their entire families. It's really inhumane. With the strength of the young master of Longcheng, the knife just now must have consumed a lot of energy. The man in black stared at Long Yuan for several seconds, and said slowly, spread out and attack from a distance. The man in black scattered, no longer giving Long Yuan any chance to fight back. They controlled their own divine weapons, and launched powerful long-range attacks on the two people on the ground. Run! Long Yuan roared, turned around, picked up Di Fan and ran. He had already slashed 3 times today, and now he was very weak, and he could hardly hold the knife. Under the siege of 6 men in black, it was not easy for him to run, let alone carrying Di Fan. Just 3 seconds later, a meteor hammer hit Long Yuan's chest, knocking him and Di Fan more than 10 meters away. Long Yuan groaned, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Puff! Di Fan was affected and spit out a large mouthful of blood. He hit me. Why are you spitting blood? Long Yuan stood up cursing and touched his chest. Humph, minor injury, no pain. Long Yuan's physical strength is comparable to that of a beast. Unfortunately, when 6 level 40 black-clothed men surrounded Long Yuan, no matter how strong his body was, he could only be used as a sandbag by others. He is the young master of Longcheng. You can't kill him. Di Fan trembled and got up from the ground. If you kill him, the chosen one will definitely turn against the emperor, and you can't afford the consequences. The men in black looked at each other. They felt that what Di Fan said made sense. The identity of the young master of Longcheng was still too important. The leading man in black looked at Long Yuan and said coldly, Go, we dare not kill you. Long Yuan stretched out his hand to wipe the blood foam from the corner of his mouth. I want to take Di Fan with me. The man in black shook his head coldly. Impossible. Long Yuan persuaded. You should know that once Di Fan dies, how many innocent people will be buried with him? Can you bear to watch the people of Haiyu Empire suffer? The men in black looked at each other and sneered. Young Master Longcheng, you are young and inexperienced, but you still dream of saving the world. It's easy to say, you are just too well protected by those chosen ones. What does it have to do with us whether those people live or die? We only know that if we can't kill His Highness Di Fan, our family will not see the sun tomorrow. Young Master Longcheng, let me ask you, between family and strangers, who would you choose to let live? We don't have such a strong background as you, and we can't go against the will of the Emperor. If you were one of us, you would definitely make the same choice as us. Listening to the mocking words of the men in black, Long Yuan was stunned. What they said seemed to be right. But am I wrong? Long Yuan is only 17 years old. He has lived a life of luxury since he was a child and grew up in an environment full of love and laughter. Just as the men in black said, he is young and has not experienced too much suffering. His world is black and white, with only good guys and bad guys. In Long Yuan's view, these men in black want to kill Di Fan and cause a war between the two countries, so the men in black are bad guys. Bad guys should die. Di Fan is a good guy, so he should live. This is Long Yuan's idea. He is only 17 years old, and he can't think about things so comprehensively. He only considered that if Di Fan is alive, the people of Haiyu Empire can survive. He didn't consider that if Di Fan is alive, the family of the men in black will die. From the perspective of the men in black, they just want to live. Just want their families to live. Is there anything wrong with that? That's right. From Long Yuan's perspective, he doesn't want innocent people to become victims of war. Is there anything wrong with that? That's right. From the perspective of Emperor Zun, he wants to expand territory, sweep across the wilderness, gather the power of the world, and fight against the invading alien races. Is there anything wrong with that? That seems to be right. The world is not black and white, and the bad guys you think of may become good guys from another perspective. Long Yuan pondered for a long time, then raised his head and looked at the black-clothed men around him, with a sincere face. I thought too simply just now. I apologize to you. The 6 black-clothed men were also stunned. The dignified young master of Longcheng would actually apologize to these little people, and he was very sincere. This scene had a great impact on them. In the minds of these black-clothed men, those who are in high positions are all high and mighty, treating them like animals to be used. Apologize to little people like them? These men in black wouldn't even dare to dream of doing this. Apologizing is meaningless to us. The leading man in black said, even if you kneel down and kowtow to us and admit your mistakes, it will be useless. We will definitely kill His Highness D. Fan. Long Yuan shook his head and said, I won't kowtow to you, let alone admit my mistakes, because I didn't do anything wrong. I apologize to you only because my thoughts just now were too immature and ridiculous. But I have a mature idea now. Do you want to listen to it? According to my idea, you can live, your family can live, D. Fan can live, and the civilians of the Hallyu Empire can live. Everyone is alive, and everyone is happy. The men in black looked at each other in bewilderment. Is there such a good thing in the world? D. Fan glanced at Long Yuan slightly, with a little expectation in his heart. He wanted to hear what Long Yuan was thinking. The leading man in black nodded, then, tell me. Long Yuan smiled confidently. It's actually very simple, you can just pretend to be dead. As long as the Emperor thinks you died in battle, your family can live. As for D. Fan, I will secretly send him back to the Falling Sun Empire. As long as he returns to the Falling Sun Empire, he won't have to die, and the people of the Bright Moon Empire can escape. According to my plan, no one will die, and everyone can live. After hearing this, the black-clothed man was stunned on the spot. They suspected that Long Yuan had a problem with his brain. D. Fan also shook his head slightly, thinking that Long Yuan's idea was really stupid. Even Nan Feng and Xiao Luo, who had been hiding in the dark, looked at each other and smiled helplessly. Can this be called a mature idea? Where is it mature? It's simply raw. If Long Yuan had said, I beg my master to kill the Emperor, so that everyone can live, Nan Feng would not be so speechless. How did you teach him? Nan Feng pointed to his head. Why do I feel that the boy is not very smart? Xiao Luo couldn't refute it for a moment, and he also thought Long Yuan's idea was a little ridiculous. The child is still young, lacks experience, and thinks the world is too simple. Give him some time, he will grow up. Nan Feng nodded silently. Yes, Long Yuan is only 17 years old after all. How can he consider everything so carefully? It is already very good for a 17-year-old boy to have the lofty ambition to save the world and be willing to take action for it. Perhaps he will be beaten by reality, hit walls everywhere, and get bloody. But this is what a young man should experience. Who among those who are smooth, shrewd, calculating gains and losses everywhere, and are extremely cunning has not gone through this stage, the center of the battlefield? After hearing Long Yuan's idea, the men in black couldn't help laughing. Young Master Longcheng, should I say you are naive or innocent? It's ridiculous. This idea is really ridiculous. Alas, I am really stupid. I actually have a little hope for your idea. Long Yuan crossed his arms in front of his chest. If you have any opinions, you can raise them. There is no need to criticize others. One of the men in black said, You let us fake our death and get away? Ridiculous. The Emperor has a slew of hands and eyes. Do you think we can escape his eyes? Long Yuan chuckled. I have a way to block his perception. With his status, he won't go around the world looking for you, right? Another man in black said, The Emperor doesn't need to look for us. As long as he doesn't see our bodies, our families will die. Long Yuan, I can let my master announce loudly that he killed you. You should know who my master is. It's reasonable to fight him and die without a complete body, right? The men in black looked at each other, and suddenly felt that Long Yuan's idea seemed to be a little feasible. But, behind Long Yuan, D. Fan whispered, According to what you said, it can indeed save their lives, but it cannot stop this war. Even if I can return to the Hallyu Empire alive, the Emperor will still find other excuses to start a war. My life or death is not the key is the Emperor's idea of unifying the world. Long Yuan smiled slightly. You need to change his mind. D. Fan was stunned. Me? Let me change the Emperor's mind? You might as well let me teach ants to talk. Long Yuan, using force to unify the world is the most effective way, but not necessarily the best way. War will cause casualties and arouse hatred in people's hearts. This hatred will be directed at the emperor, and it will take many years to slowly fade away. As far as I know, the emperor cares a lot about his prestige among the people, otherwise he would have unified the world by 7 years ago. If you tell him that you have a way to unify the world without bloodshed, and it is faster and more efficient than using force, and it can also make the people grateful to him, what do you think he will choose? Di Fan was stunned and fell into deep thought. He had been with the emperor for many years, and he knew very well how much the emperor cared about the people's opinions of him. If it was true as Long Yuan said, there was a way to unify the world without bloodshed, then he was sure that the emperor would use this method. What method are you talking about? Di Fan asked expectantly. Before Long Yuan spoke, the man in black interrupted him and said, "Sorry, young master Long Chung. Maybe your idea is really great, but we dare not gamble. For us, killing His Highness Di Fan is the most correct choice. You have wasted a lot of our time. Now, please leave. Otherwise, we can only kill you together." At this point, the 6 men in black drew their weapons, and murderous auras surged on their bodies. Chapter 861. In the woods, murderous intent resurfaced. 2 of the men in black slowly moved aside, preparing to cross Long Yuan and kill Di Fan directly. Is there really no room for negotiation? The slightly immature Long Yuan wanted to persuade him again. But the hearts of the men in black could not be changed by Long Yuan's words. They must kill Di Fan today, and complete the task assigned by Emperor Zoom. Kill! The leading man in black spoke coldly. The 2 men in black who moved aside drew their swords and stabbed Di Fan at the same time. Stand behind me! Long Yuan shouted, and a sturdy shield appeared in his hand. He protected Di Fan behind him, waved the shield to block the 2 fierce swords, and retreated quickly. The numbness in his arm made Long Yuan secretly frightened. The power of these black-clothed men is too great. Old 3, control Long Yuan. The leading black-clothed man commanded, "Don't worry about him. Just kill His Highness Di Fan." The black-clothed man called Old 3 nodded heavily, and he swung out a whip more than 10 meters long, accurately wrapping Long Yuan's wrist. "Come here." The 3rd brother pulled hard, and then showed a surprised expression. He actually failed to pull Long Yuan this time? You didn't eat? The black-clothed leader said coldly. The 3rd brother's face darkened, the muscles on his arms bulged, and he shouted, "Get over here." Swish. This time, the 3rd brother used all his strength. In terms of pure strength, Long Yuan was no match for the 40-level strongman, and was directly pulled away. In midair, Long Yuan drew out a wooden sword with his backhand, and chopped it down on the head of the 3rd brother. Swish. Long Yuan stopped after this strike. He was going to chop the 3rd brother's head, but at the moment of striking, Long Yuan hesitated, and the blade slightly deviated, cutting off the 3rd brother's right arm. Blood gushed out, the 3rd brother's face turned pale, and he kicked Long Yuan out in midair. On the other hand, without Long Yuan's protection, how could Di Fan survive in the hands of these men in black? Not to mention that he had no intention of living in the first place. Facing the sword of the man in black stabbing at his throat, Di Fan stood there calmly, waiting for death to come. His eyes turned to Long Yuan, who fell to the ground in the distance. Long Yuan covered his abdomen and looked at Di Fan with wide eyes. There was a hint of confusion in his eyes. "Young man, why didn't you hide? Even if the gap in strength was huge, even if death was inevitable, you shouldn't give up on yourself. In this world, what is more important than your own life?" Perhaps because he understood the meaning of Long Yuan's eyes, Di Fan had a strong desire to survive in his heart, and he subconsciously took a half step back. It was because of this half step that Nefeng decided to save the child. "If you don't want to live, no one can save you," Nefeng said in his heart. He flicked his finger, and the air flew out like a cannonball, knocking away all the black-clothed men who besieged Di Fan. "Who?" The leader of the black-clothed men shouted in panic. "There are still masters in this grove." In an instant, the leader of the black-clothed men broke out in a cold sweat, because he suddenly realized that their mission today might not be completed. In the dark, Xiao Luo took a step forward, ready to show up. He and Nefeng had not taken action just now, just to see how Long Yuan would respond when facing a crisis. In general, except for the slightly childish remarks in the middle, Xiao Luo was quite satisfied with Long Yuan's performance, and could give him an 8. With Di Fan as a burden, facing 14 level 40 warriors, Long Yuan killed 8 of them, cut off the arm of one of them, and used childish remarks to delay a lot of time. For Long Yuan, who is only level 39, this record is perfect. The reason why Long Yuan was not given full marks is that his output was entirely dependent on the wooden sword, and 2 points were deducted for this. Wooden sword, don't get me wrong, young boy, this power does not belong to you. Another 90 points were deducted for Long Yuan's decision. In Xiao Luo's opinion, Long Yuan wanted to save Di Fan, which was an absolutely wrong decision. If he and Nan Feng were not here, Long Yuan would probably pay a heavy price for his decision. Young people are still too impatient. Don't worry. Seeing Xiao Luo was about to leave, Nan Feng reached out and pressed his shoulder. Did you see Long Yuan's state just now? Xiao Luo raised his eyebrows, recalled a little, and nodded. He vaguely showed signs of a breakthrough. But how can he break through level 40 without a contracted life-definition magic weapon? Nan Feng smiled and said, you can break through level 40 without a life-definition magic weapon. Isn't there a good example around us? Examples around us? Xiao Luo pondered. Beside him, Nan Feng's tactical mecha began to transform, and after a second, it turned into a majestic and domineering Kirin robe. This was not over yet. Nan Feng stretched out his hand and wiped his face, and the magic power gathered on his face. After a while of squirming, he had become the Emperor. Seeing this, Xiao Luo was stunned for a moment. Too much like the Emperor. Not only do they look alike, but even their auras are similar. If he hadn't witnessed the whole process with his own eyes, he would even conclude that the person in front of him was the Emperor. Nan Feng murmured, I haven't seen the Emperor for 17 years. He shouldn't have changed, right? No. Xiao Luo first answered Nan Feng's question, and then asked, isn't your tactical mask on Long Yuan's face? I don't need a tactical mask. I can still change my face. Nan Feng said, took a step forward, and came behind Di Fan. The black-clothed man present was so scared when he saw the Emperor coming that he knelt on the ground. Greetings to the Emperor. Di Fan trembled when he heard this, turned around trembling, and saw the Emperor standing behind him. Emperor, greetings to the Emperor. Di Fan took a deep breath and knelt respectfully, his forehead close to the ground. Everyone, get up. Nan Feng spoke softly. His voice was calm, but full of oppression, and he was powerful without being angry, with a kind of momentum that could swallow up mountains and rivers. Thank you, Emperor. The 6 men in black stood up quickly. Di Fan also stood up slowly. He glanced at the Emperor cautiously, and a trace of doubt rose in his heart. The Emperor in front of him lacked the domineering aura of dominating the world and looking down on everything. But the terrifying and suffocating imperial pressure on him was enough to prove his identity. He seemed to be the Emperor, but he didn't seem to be, which was a bit strange. Di Fan fell into deep thought. Nan Feng glanced at the 6 men in black coldly, and said in a cold voice, I saw everything just now. Hey, 14 of you level 40, 8 of you were killed by a level 39 kid. What do I feed you for? The men in black knelt down on their knees after hearing this, and said in fear and trepidation, Please forgive me, Emperor. Although these men in black worked for the Emperor, they had never seen the Emperor. After all, the Emperor's status was there, and these killers who specialized in doing dirty work were not qualified to meet him. In addition, they were so scared that their bodies were shaking with fear, so they naturally did not notice the loopholes in Nanfeng's words. But Di Fan noticed it. The Emperor usually called himself this deity instead of I. The Emperor in front of him was a fake. Who could he be? Dare to pretend to be the Emperor. This person is really bold. Di Fan sighed in his heart. Nan Feng said coldly, You few trash, if you want to live, go and kill Long Yuan. The black-clothed leader was shocked. Killing Long Yuan, wouldn't it mean going to war with Long Cheng? War with the Chosen One? Warring with the Haoyue Empire, the Wadika Empire, and the Chosen One at the same time? This is not the style of the Emperor. But the black-clothed leader had no time to think. The Emperor's order could not be disobeyed. He drew his sword and killed Long Yuan directly. Long Yuan looked at the Emperor in doubt, then turned and ran away. He originally suspected that the Emperor in front of him was Uncle Nan pretending to be him. But now it seems that something is not right. Because he felt the murderous intent in the Emperor's eyes. This Emperor really wanted to kill him. Why is the Emperor here? Long Yuan was in doubt. Where is Uncle Nan? Why hasn't he shown up? Could he? He wouldn't be beaten to death by the Emperor. Uncle Nan, you are in Ganshinma. At this moment, Long Yuan was a little scared. In fact, when facing the water-shaped phantom Qian Wei, Long Yuan was not afraid. Because he knew that he contained extremely terrifying power, and it was almost impossible for Qian Wei, who was only level 45, to kill him. Moreover, he also had powerful means such as wooden swords, ice pendants, and 9-layer demon towers. Once Long Yuan found an opportunity, he might even kill the opponent. But in front of the Emperor, These means of his were as ridiculous as children playing house. What to do? Long Yuan felt the black-clad man behind him getting closer and closer, and he quickly took out his cell phone from his storage bag. This place is not far from Wuhai City, and there is a signal tower in the city, so the cell phone might have a signal, but before he could call Xiaonan, the cell phone began to twist and soon became a ball of iron. Shit! Long Yuan cursed. At the same time, the black-clad man's boss had come behind Long Yuan and stabbed him in the back with a sword. The sword stabbed out from Long Yuan's chest, and Long Yuan's pupils shrank sharply, and he smashed the iron ball in his hand on the black-clad man's head with his backhand. "I'm sorry, young Master Longcheng," the leader of the black-clothed men whispered. He twisted the long sword in his hand and crushed Long Yuan's internal organs. In the dark, Xiao Luo frowned, and Qing Yao appeared in his hand. "Wait a little longer." Nanfeng's voice reached his ears. Xiao Luo said worriedly, "What are you waiting for? He's just a child." Nanfeng said calmly, "Other children may not be able to do it, but Brother Long's child, I believe he can do it." Xiao Luo stopped talking after hearing this. On the battlefield, the severe pain made Long Yuan's brain clearer. He retreated violently, letting the long sword leave his body, and then used magic to quickly recover from his injuries. "I can't give up. Master and Aunt Nan will definitely come to find me." Long Yuan clenched his teeth and said in his heart, "One more second to hold on, one more hope to survive." Long Yuan glanced at Emperor Zun from the corner of his eyes. "Very good, Emperor Zun has no intention of taking action. A strong man of his status and position should not bother to take action against me." Thinking of this, Long Yuan felt a little relieved. If I were to fight only 5 or 5 level 40 warriors, I, Long Yuan, might be able to win. "Open the mountain!" Long Yuan shouted, and drew out his wooden sword to chop it down. Boom! The Emperor flicked his finger, and the wooden sword exploded in Long Yuan's hand, turning into sawdust that flew all over the sky with the wind. Damn! Long Yuan was so angry that he vomited blood. Not allowed to use weapons. What the hell is this? Bang! A meteor hammer fell from the sky and hit Long Yuan on the forehead. Blood flowed from his head, blurring his eyes. Swish, swish, swish. Swords flashed and stabbed. In just a moment, Long Yuan was hit by several swords and knives, and blood was flowing non-stop. Nanfeng frowned slightly and sighed in his heart. It is really too difficult to break through level 40 without the life-defining magic weapon. Under the siege of 6 level 40 strong men, Long Yuan's life was in danger. The seal in his body began to loosen, and a steady stream of energy poured into his body. Nanfeng, who was ready to take action, saw this scene and silently withdrew his hand. "These trash can't kill Long Yuan. Let's wait and see." As the saying goes, there is no construction without destruction. In this world where the strong prey on the weak, if you have not experienced the baptism of death, you will never grow up. Long Yuan has been protected too well since he was a child. Now, Nanfeng wants him to break. If he can break and then stand up, then he is the talent to be cultivated in Long Wudi's will. Nanfeng will do his best to cultivate him. If he breaks but does not stand up, then he is the mud that cannot be supported on the wall in Long Wudi's will. Nanfeng will protect him, and let him live in a happy and safe environment for the rest of his life. Long Yuan, which way will you go in the end? Nanfeng thought silently, looking at the center of the battlefield. "Boss, why can't we kill this guy? There is a powerful force in his body that has been healing him. Put more force. I don't believe that we can't kill him." Long Yuan curled up into a ball, using his arms to protect his head and heart. The severe pain from all over his body made him look a little dazed, and a revolving lantern appeared in front of him. He seemed to have returned to the summer when he was 15 years old, when he was practicing swordsmanship in Xiao Luo's yard. The scene changed, and he returned to the age of 12, practicing archery with Wu Yuansheng. When he was 8 years old, he followed Aunt Nan to dig bird nests in the ancient forest. When he was 5 years old, he ran happily on the streets of Longcheng. When he was 3 years old, he had a runny nose and squatted on the ground to play with ants. When he was 1 year old, his mother Lin Mimi held him, and took a cool under the tree in the yard. Long Yuan looked at his little self, who couldn't even speak clearly, feeling a little dazed. Memories of when he was 1 year old? It seems that I am really going to die. Even the memories buried deep in my mind have surfaced. Long Yuan thought with some sadness. Just then, footsteps sounded from outside the yard. Afterwards, Long Yuan heard a low and hoarse voice. "Hello, sister-in-law? I haven't been back for a long time, and little Long Yuan has grown up so much." Lin Mimi raised her head slightly and looked at the person who spoke. Yunfei, you are here. Come and sit down. Yun, Uncle Yunfei. Long Yuan was slightly stunned. This familiar voice, this familiar scene. A bad premonition rose from the bottom of Long Yuan's heart. After Yunfei sat down, Lin Mimi went straight to the point and said, "You told me before that you have a way to revive Long Wudi. Is it true?" Yunfei's voice was a little hoarse. He nodded and said, "Yes, as long as I can find the soul of Long Junsho, I can revive him." Lin Mimi shook her head slightly. Xuanqing has looked for it. Xiaonan has also looked for it, but they can't find Long Wudi's soul. Yunfei said, "Maybe it's because they are looking in the wrong direction. I suspect that Long Junsho's soul is in Xiao Longyuan's body." Hearing this, Long Yuan's heart sank. Chapter 862. A bitter feeling rose in Long Yuan's heart. It turned out that the scene he dreamed of that night was not groundless, but a real thing. It was just that he was too young at the time, and didn't remember it at all. But at this time, Long Yuan was on the verge of life and death, and his brain was highly active, showing this memory that was sealed in the deepest part of his mind. "Mom, it's really you." Long Yuan looked at Lin Mimi's calm face, and felt a little sad. "Why? If you didn't want my father to die, why did you give birth to me? You used his death to exchange for my life. Now you have to use my death to exchange for his life. What a irony." Long Yuan smiled bitterly, and suddenly lost the desire to live. On the battlefield, the 6 men in black, who were hacking at Long Yuan, suddenly showed joy. They found that Long Yuan's recovery ability was getting weaker and weaker, and the wounds on his body could no longer heal. "Are you finally going to kill him? This kid is really tough." "Long Yuan, what are you thinking about?" Nan Feng thought to himself. Why did he suddenly lose his will to live? Giving up is not a good character. Nan Feng raised his right hand and snapped his fingers. Within a radius of 100 meters, the flow of time slowed down. The movements of the men in black seemed to have slowed down 100 times. Their knives were raised above their heads and could not fall. Xiao Luo's eyes condensed. This is. Nan Feng's snap of fingers and his eternal knife were similar in nature. It's just that eternity one knife speeds up the target's thinking, making the other party think that he has slowed down. But Nanfeng's move really slowed down the flow of time. It took me more than 500 years to complete your 17 years. Nanfeng responded softly, I have touched the mystery of time. The mystery of time? Xiao Luo's thoughts instantly drifted back to about 20 years ago. It turns out that the voice I heard before breaking through level 45 was really you. Nanfeng raised his hand, ready to save Long Yuan. But he raised his eyebrows and found that the momentum in Long Yuan's body was rapidly climbing to a peak. What happened again? Long Yuan, you still have something to do? Nanfeng retracted his hand and prepared to wait a little longer. At this time, Long Yuan had actually fallen into a deep coma. His consciousness stayed in the deepest part of his brain, listening to the conversation between Lin Mimi and Yunfei. Lin Mimi said, Yunfei, are you sure his soul is in Xiao Long Yuan's body? Not sure, but it is very likely. Yunfei said in a deep voice, do you know, even for people below level 30, their souls can survive for a long time after death before dissipating. Long Junsho was so strong, I don't believe that his soul was destroyed on the day he fell. So, his soul must be hidden somewhere. Either attached to his life-defining magic weapon, or in Xiao Longyuan's body, because most of the energy in Longyuan's body comes from Long Junsho, and he has the same source as him. Lin Mimi frowned slightly, thinking seriously about what Yunfei said. Yunfei continued, the mist is missing. Maybe it was taken away by Suyana, or maybe it has been destroyed. We can only place our hopes on the energy in Long Yuan's body. Maybe the soul of Long Junsho is in there? Long Junsho's body is almost intact. As long as I find his soul, I can revive him. After hearing Yunfei's words, Lin Mimi was a little shaken. She really wanted to bring Long Wudi back to life. If you can find Long Wudi's soul and revive him, how confident are you? Lin Mimi asked. Yunfei said hoarsely, 1%. 1%, 10%. The probability of bringing someone who has been dead for more than a year back to life is not low. It's worth a try. Lin Mimi said softly, what do you want to do? Yunfei said, I have to find a way to take out the energy in Long Yuan's body first, to find out if there is the soul of Long Junsho in it, and then... Woo wow! Yunfei was halfway through his words, and the 1-year-old Long Yuan suddenly burst into tears. Good boy, don't cry, don't cry. Lin Mimi quickly patted little Long Yuan's back to comfort him. When little Long Yuan stopped crying, Lin Mimi asked, what will happen to him if the energy in Yuaner's body is taken out? Yunfei was silent for a long time, and shook his head. I don't know, maybe nothing will happen, maybe he will become a disabled person, or maybe he will die. Lin Mimi looked down at the little Long Yuan, who was chewing his fingers in her arms, and shook her head gently. No need to say the rest. Even if you can really revive Long Woody, I won't agree. Sorry, Yunfei, I wasted so much of your time. I hope you can understand that no mother in this world would gamble her child's future on an illusory possibility. Long Yuan, who was already in a fuzzy state, suddenly froze for a moment, and his brain suddenly became clear. What did my mother say just now? She didn't use my life to exchange for my father's life? So, the one who kidnapped him and wanted to kill him was not my mother and Uncle Yunfei. In the yard, Yunfei nodded silently. He certainly understood Lin Mimi's idea. How many parents in this world don't love their children? But Yunfei still reminded, this may be the only chance. The soul of Long Juanshou will not survive for too long. Maybe in 1 or 2 years, he will completely dissipate. If you are still hesitating, you must make a decision as soon as possible. Lin Mimi shook her head firmly. I will not hesitate, nor will I change my mind. Long Woody died, that was his fate. I will not trade Yuaner's life for his life. Thank you for coming here today and giving me a glimmer of hope, but in the future, I hope you will not mention this matter again. I understand. Yunfei knew that Lin Mimi had made up her mind, and without staying for long, he walked out of the yard silently. Lin Mimi held little Long Yuan, rocked him gently, and coaxed him to sleep. Little treasure, don't be afraid, Mom will protect you. Lin Mimi whispered in a low voice. Seeing this scene, the sorrow and bitterness in Long Yuan's heart were swept away. He chuckled, in this world, where is there a mother who doesn't love her child? Xiao Fei, did you see that? My mother is also the best in the world. A strong desire to survive burst out at this moment. On the battlefield, Long Yuan suddenly opened his eyes, and what caught his eye was a big knife hanging above his head. The moment Long Yuan opened his eyes, the flow of time returned to normal. Snake swim, Long Yuan twisted on the ground strangely, avoiding all the attacks. The wounds on his body were healing rapidly, and his momentum was getting stronger and stronger, and he actually broke through the threshold directly. Level 40, Long Yuan, who did not have his own divine weapon, broke through the 40-level barrier at this moment. Chapter 863. At the critical moment of life and death, Long Yuan really broke through level 40. The 6 men in black were shocked and broke into a cold sweat. This 17-year-old boy actually broke through level 40, which is unheard of in the history of the primitive world. What's more terrifying is that he hasn't even contracted his own divine weapon. A level 40 strongman without his own divine weapon. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would never believe it. It really works. Nefeng murmured in a low voice. His guess was correct. Even without a life-defining magic weapon, humans can still break through level 40. Because he has a living example around him. Xiaonan. Many people overlook this point because they think Xiaonan is not a human, but a zombie, or a pet similar to a vicious beast. But Nefeng knows that Xiaonan must be a human. Even if Xiaonan is not, then 120,000 years ago, Xiaonan's previous life, Tang Qiqi must have been a human. Even without a life-defining magic weapon, couldn't Tang Qiqi still break through level 40, even if Tang Qiqi is not a human, but a humanoid beast, or some other messy creature? Without her own divine weapon, why can she break through level 40, but humans can't? Without her own divine weapon, why can beasts break through level 40, but humans can't? This doesn't make sense. There must be something wrong. So, after seeing that Long Yuan had signs of a breakthrough, Nefeng decisively chose to force him. He succeeded. Long Yuan, who did not have his own divine weapon, really broke through level 40. Long Yuan embarked on a different path. Nefeng was slightly excited, because he knew what this path meant. The last person who walked on this path should be Tang Qiqi 120,000 years ago. What about the one before that? The one before that should be him who had not yet ascended to godhood. If I lose to him, you will definitely win. Nefeng laughed, and he murmured in his heart, of course, I will not lose. The center of the battlefield. Long Yuan, who broke through level 40 before the battle, instantly started to counterattack. Even though these 6 men in black had their own divine weapons, they were still no match for Long Yuan. Dragon Fist, Tiger Palm, Crane Claw, Snake Entanglement, Leopard Attack. Long Yuan stepped on the dragon and tiger steps, and every time he punched and palmed, there was a sound of tiger roar and dragon roar. After the breakthrough, Long Yuan felt that his brain was extremely clear, and he instantly mastered the fist and palm techniques taught to him by Nefeng. In less than 10 seconds, the 6 men in black were put down by Long Yuan, and curled up on the ground wailing. Who? Long Yuan exhaled a long breath of turbid air. The energy in his body surged, as if it had its own spring water, healing all the wounds on his body. If a book was written with him as the protagonist, the title could be Recovering Billions of Blood per Second, I Am Immortal. Long Yuan looked at Emperor Zun, and seeing him looking at him with a smile, he asked tentatively, Uncle Nan? Nan Feng changed, and returned to his original appearance. Uncle Nan, it's really you. Long Yuan ran over happily. I felt that there was something wrong with you, the Emperor. It turned out that you were pretending to be me. Nan Feng laughed and said, your observation skills are still a little poor. Look at this kid. He has already seen that I am a fake. As he said that, Nan Feng pointed at Fan. Fan was secretly shocked. Uncle Nan? The person pretending to be the Emperor in front of him turned out to be the Lord of Nancheng, Nan Feng, who had been missing for more than 10 years. At the same time, Xiao Luo flashed and came to the side of several people. Master! Long Yuan exclaimed, you've been here all along? I knew you would come to save me. Xiao Luo chuckled and patted his shoulder. Not bad. Hearing Xiao Luo's praise, Long Yuan laughed from the bottom of his heart. In the distance, 6 half-dead men in black saw this scene. How could they not understand what happened? They looked bitter, knowing that they could not escape today. Boss, the news that the Lord of South City has appeared must be told to the Emperor. The third brother, who had a broken arm, transmitted the message, we will cover you. You quickly escape back to the imperial capital. The leader of the black-clothed men laughed bitterly. Who do you think they are? There is no need for those two to take action. The young master of Lancheng alone is enough to kill us. Run? You can't run away. That being said, the leader of the black-clothed men still decided to give it a try. He took out a piece of talisman paper from his arms and stuck it on his chest. In an instant, the talisman paper ignited, and his blood also burned. Swish! Then, the leader of the black-clothed men rushed straight into the sky at a terrifying speed, and headed straight for the direction of the falling Sun Empire. Stop them! The other 5 men in black took out talismans and pasted them on their bodies, burning their blood to gain super strong combat power for a short time. They rushed over with a roar, but in the eyes of Nan Feng and Xiao Luo, they were as slow as a sloth. Xiao Luo looked at the 5 men in black, and the murderous intent in his eyes flashed. Dong, dong, dong. The 5 men in black fell to the ground one after another, and there was no life. Master! Master! Long Yuan opened his mouth and sighed softly. I wanted to let them go. They are also miserable people. Xiao Luo touched his head. Silly boy, dying here is what they want. How could these men in black not know how big the gap in strength between the two sides was? They rushed up to seek death. As for the remaining one who flew away, Xiao Luo wanted to raise his hand to kill him, but was stopped by Nan Feng. Let him go back and inform the news. Nan Feng said, the Emperor will not send anyone to kill him if he knows that we saved this kid. Fan was slightly startled when he heard this. Yes, the Emperor's thoughts have been exposed. After today, even if Fan died in the Hallyu Empire, it would be meaningless. As long as Nan Feng and Xiao Luo are alive, the whole world will know that it was the Emperor who killed Fan. It would be too much of a stretch for the Emperor to use this excuse to attack the Hallyu Empire. It seems that he can really survive. If you want to use me to deal with the Emperor, I will not agree. Fan looked at Nan Feng with a serious face. I want to live, but I will never betray the Emperor. Nan Feng and Xiao Luo looked at each other and laughed. Little friend, you should find a place to play in the mud. Nan Feng shook his head and said, use you to deal with Emperor Zun? Don't take yourself too seriously. Fan choked. Yeah, use him? What's so good about him? Fan thought of a scene. Nan Feng pinched his neck and threatened Emperor Zun. Surrender quickly, or I will kill your adopted son. Emperor Zun laughed. Then kill him. If you can't do it, I will help you. What a ridiculous scene. Chapter 864. In the woods. Xiao Luo looked at Fan and said, little friend, you don't have to think too much. We won't use you. Nan Feng continued, high EQ, we won't use you. Low EQ, you are of no use. Fan was puzzled, then why did you save me? What's the point of offending the powerful Emperor for someone like me who is of no use? I don't understand. Nan Feng smiled, I'm happy, so I saved you. I am willing to do something worth a fortune, understand? Emotional value is also a value. Xiao Luo turned his eyes to Long Yuan. The little guy has just broken through, and needs to stabilize. Let's find a place to rest first. Nan Feng nodded. Let's go back to the town over there first. After finding Yunfei, we will return to Nancheng. As he said that, Nan Feng suddenly raised his eyebrows and muttered, "Want to kill people to silence them? Interesting. What's wrong?" Xiao Luo was puzzled. Nan Feng slowly floated into the air. "I'm going to take care of something. You take them back to the town." Xiao Luo nodded. "Okay, do you need my help?" Nan Feng waved his hand. "No, it's just a small fight. You don't need to do anything." After that, Nan Feng disappeared instantly without leaving even a gust of wind. So fast. Long Yuan was a little shocked. Before breaking through level 40, Long Yuan knew that Nan Feng was very strong, but he had no idea how strong he was. After breaking through level 40, all his senses were greatly improved. Even so, he still couldn't see Nan Feng's movements clearly, as if Nan Feng had just disappeared out of thin air without leaving any trace. He still had no idea of how powerful Nan Feng was. "Master, what is Uncle Nan's strength?" Long Yuan asked curiously. "He's at the same level as me, but..." Xiao Luo thought for a while, and said, "He's stronger than me." Level 47. Long Yuan nodded in understanding. 7 years ago, Xiao Luo and Emperor Zun fought in the outer world for 10 days and 10 nights. Not long after that battle, Xiao Luo and Emperor Zun broke through to level 47 at the same time. This news was known to very few people in the outside world. Because since that battle, these two people disappeared and almost never appeared in the public eye. As Xiao Luo's apprentice, Long Yuan naturally knew this information. It turns out that Uncle Nan is also level 47. Long Yuan thought to himself, "Master and Uncle Nan are both level 47. If they join forces, can't they beat up Emperor Zun? Oh my god, my backer is too reliable. But Uncle Nan doesn't seem to like me very much. Every time I encounter danger, he has to wait until I am covered in wounds before saving me." Long Yuan secretly criticized Nan Feng in his heart. The town was not far away, and the three of them arrived in the town soon. The residents of the town saw Xiao Luo and exclaimed, "It's him! He is Xiao Luo from Nancheng. Why is he here? Where is Lord Yunfei?" Xiao Luo's eyes swept over this group of strange residents. There were a few faces among them that looked familiar to him. "Master, they seem a little afraid of you." Long Yuan asked strangely, "Do you know them?" Xiao Luo pondered for a while and nodded gently. "I should have seen it before." The residents on both sides of the street whispered and did not dare to stop the three people. They watched them walk into Xiufei's yard. "Xiufei and Auntie, I brought my master to visit." As soon as he entered the yard, Long Yuan shouted loudly. In the kitchen, Xiufei came out chewing a big pig's hoof. "Handsome boy, you are back again?" Xiufei's mouth was full of oil. "I just saw a lot of people in black flying in the sky. Are you okay?" Long Yuan smiled proudly. "It's okay, my master is here. Those black-clothed men were beaten away." Xiao Fei's mother also came out of the kitchen, also chewing a big pig's hoof. "Come in and sit down, Xiao Fei. Go pour tea for the guests." It can be seen that Xiao Fei's mother's eyebrows are a little worried, probably afraid that Di Fan will bring trouble to the town. But Long Yuan was a guest brought by Yunfei specifically, and she respected Yunfei very much, so she didn't drive the three out. Seeing the faces of the mother and daughter, Xiao Luo finally confirmed his guess that the people in this town were all civilians who died in the Battle of Wuhai City. Xiao Luo was particularly impressed by this mother and daughter. That day, Xiao Luo, Nan Feng, and Tang Chungan killed the ancestor of the Zhao family on the sea, and then returned to the ruined Wuhai City. Outside the city gate, Nan Feng saw the bodies of the mother and daughter, fell into deep self-blame, and had a questioning. This mother and daughter should have died more than 10 years ago. How did they come back to life? Resurrecting the dead? Interesting. "Yunfei, how did you do it?" Xiao Luo was puzzled. In the yard, Long Yuan saw Xiao Fei's mother busy in the kitchen, and thought of the memory he had just seen in the depths of his brain. Suddenly, he wanted to see his mother Lin Mimi very much. "Master." Long Yuan looked at Xiao Luo. "I miss my mother. Can you help me contact her?" Xiao Luo was startled, then chuckled. "Of course." He came to the outside of the yard alone, opened the panel, and sent a message to Lin Mimi. In the yard, Xiao Fei ran over happily with a tray of tea. "Handsome boy, have some tea. And this little brother, you also have tea." Di Fan took the tea, glanced at Long Yuan's ugly face, and asked in confusion, "Little sister, why do you call him little handsome boy and not me little handsome boy? Am I not more handsome than him?" Xiao Fei tilted her head and explained, "Because his name is Xiao Shuai." Di Fan was speechless. Beijing. Lin Mimi looked haggard and was flipping through the documents on the table. Since the development of Longcheng, Lin Mimi has assigned most of the things and has a dedicated person to connect with him. But matters concerning the general direction of Longcheng still need her personal review. So, even though Long Yuan has been missing for many days, she is still busy and still handling official business. She is not only a mother, she is also the acting mayor of Longcheng. Longcheng is the hard work of Long Woody, and she doesn't want Long Woody's hard work to be destroyed. She wants to manage Longcheng well. Lin Mimi gently rubbed her temples, her face showing fatigue. She looked at the portrait of Long Woody on the table and murmured softly, "I'm so tired. Tell me, where is Yuan now? You must protect him." Beep beep. At this moment, the tactical watch made a sound that only she could hear. Lin Mimi immediately opened the panel, and saw the message sent by Xiao Luo. "Xiao Luo, we found Long Yuan, they are fine." Lin Mimi wanted to cry. The pressure of these days turned into 2 tears at this moment and flowed down. She replied tremblingly, "Where are you?" Chapter 865. In the peaceful Wuhai city, a chosen one from Dragon City was leisurely drinking tea in a tea house. His name was Guan Qingwen, and he belonged to the intelligence organization of Dragon City. He usually stayed in Wuhai City, responsible for organizing and reporting what happened here. This job was quite easy, because Wuhai City was under the jurisdiction of South City, and the managers of South City would compile daily events into a book and report to Suzerain. Guan Qingwen only needed to copy a copy, and add a little bit of his own insights. Relaxed, leisurely, and high salary. For a lazy person like him, who has no intention of fighting for power, he can do this job until he dies. But just 10 seconds ago, Guan Qingwen's face became solemn. Because the supreme ruler of their Dragon City, Lin Mimi, added him as a friend and sent him a message. Open the teleportation array. Guan Qingwen was a little panicked. What's going on? Did the boss find out that I was slacking off during work hours? Guan Qingwen's brain was spinning rapidly, analyzing the situation in front of him. What is the boss doing here? Fire me? Or beat me up? I was just slacking off during work hours. There's no need to be so cruel, right? After analyzing for a long time, Guan Qingwen still couldn't figure out anything. While he was hesitating, Lin Mimi sent another message. Hurry up, open the teleportation array. It's a blessing, not a curse, and it's a curse that can't be avoided. Guan Qingwen gritted his teeth and could only open the teleportation array, waiting for the big boss to scold him. Swish. The silver-white light lit up, and Lin Mimi walked out of the teleportation array quickly. Good job, your salary will be increased by 30%. Leaving behind such a casual sentence, Lin Mimi walked out of the tea house with brisk steps and flew into the sky. Guan Qingwen was confused. Huh? Not only did he not get scolded, but his salary also increased by 30%? Is there such a good thing in the world? At this moment, Guan Qingwen realized, slacking off at work is the way of heaven. Shua, shua, shua. Before he recovered from the excitement of the salary increase, the teleportation array beside him kept lighting up with silver light. Flying Eagle, Mad Wolf, Black Dog. One after another, senior staff of Dragon City came out of his teleportation array. They did not stop in the tea house, but all flew to the northwest. What happened? Guan Qingwen muttered. As an intelligence officer, you don't even know what happened. Black Dog stood behind him, and said helplessly, it seems that you are just slacking off all day. Go back to the finance department to collect your salary. I will replace someone from Wuhai City. Guan Qingwen's face turned pale. His salary had just increased. A large number of strongmen flew into the sky above Wuhai City, and flew northwest. This scene naturally attracted the attention of the residents in the city. What happened? Where did so many strongmen come from? Are you blind? These are the chosen ones, can't you see? They are all flying northwest. What are they doing? Is there a magic weapon coming out? Among the crowd, there were several spies from the imperial capital who quietly passed the news back to the imperial capital. In a small town about 80 kilometers northwest of Wuhai City, Lin Mimi, Fei Ying, Feng Lang and others followed one after another. Yuan. Lin Mimi landed in the yard and saw Long Yuan, whose clothes were covered with blood. Although his face became extremely ugly, his figure and eyes were exactly the same as Long Yuan, and Lin Mimi would not make a mistake. Mom. The ugly Long Yuan threw himself into Lin Mimi's arms. The mother and son, who had not seen each other for a long time, hugged each other for the first time. Fei Ying and others also came to the courtyard. They greeted Xiao Luo while observing the environment of the town. Brother Luo, I'm sorry to bother you again this time. Long Yuan is really a worry. Brother Luo, do you know who kidnapped the young master? Xiao Luo responded to everyone one by one. He said, the person who kidnapped Long Yuan. I'm not completely sure. But now, I have another thing to tell you first. What is it? Everyone turned their heads to look at Xiao Luo when they heard his words. Xiao Luo pointed at Di Fan and said calmly, "This kid is called Di Fan, yes, that's the adopted son of Emperor Zun, Di Fan." Fei Ying was startled. Why is he here? It's a long story. Xiao Luo looked at Long Yuan. Long Yuan, you tell it yourself. Long Yuan poked his head out of Lin Mimi's arms and nodded happily. Okay, this is what happened. It wasn't a long story, after all. Long Yuan and Di Fan had just known each other for less than 2 hours. He described what happened in these 3 hours in a concise manner. After hearing this, Fei Ying and the others looked very angry. Long Yuan, can you consider the consequences before you do anything in the future? You are still very proud of saving Di Fan, right? Whether Di Fan is dead or alive, Emperor Zun will attack the Haoyue Empire. This is an unchangeable fact. Long Yuan, your behavior will not only fail to save the Haoyue Empire, but also put Longcheng in crisis. Do you know how much trouble it will bring to Longcheng if you offend Emperor Zun? Hey, Long Yuan's mind is still not mature enough. It would be better if Long Junshu was still here. Yeah, he definitely won't be so impulsive. Forget it, it's already happened. It's useless to say these things now. Let's think about how to deal with the Emperor's anger. Listening to the criticism and rebuke of the uncles, Long Yuan's smile froze on his face. Why? Long Yuan didn't understand. Even if his actions couldn't stop the Emperor from attacking the Haoyue Empire, he at least saved an innocent boy. Isn't that a good thing? Why are all people blaming him from a high position? Long Yuan mustered up the courage to look at everyone, and said stubbornly, if your dragon army chief is still here, he will definitely save Di Fan. Fei Ying and others turned their heads in surprise, and looked at Long Yuan. It was the first time that Long Yuan refuted their words so strongly. The young man in front of him had grown up. He no longer blindly followed the words of his elders, but began to have his own ideas. Behind Fei Ying, there were many high-level personnel from Longcheng who also came here. They heard Long Yuan's words, and continued to refute. The dragon army chief may save Di Fan, but that is because his strength is strong enough, and he is not afraid of the Emperor. What about you? Are you strong enough to protect Longcheng? Can you be as good as Long Junshu? Before you have absolute strength, think twice before you act. Don't do whatever you want, understand? Otherwise, you will only hurt yourself and the people around you. Think carefully about what the uncle said. Is there any reason? These are all our years of experience, there is no mistake. Long Yuan stammered. Listening to these words, he was powerless to refute. From childhood to adulthood, whether in learning, practicing, he has worked very hard. But what's the point of trying harder? No matter how well Long Yuan does, he can only sigh. He is still a little worse than Long Junshu. Prejudices in people's hearts are like a mountain. No matter how hard Long Yuan tries, he can never be as good as Long Woody in their hearts. TSK. Di Fan said with sarcasm on his face, you people in Longcheng are really interesting. Pointing at a 17-year-old kid, hoping that he can surpass Long Woody? You are so capable and eloquent. Why haven't you become the second Long Woody? A bunch of trash. And you are educating Long Woody's child? It's really funny. Chapter 866. As Di Fan finished speaking, more than a dozen murderous gazes fell on Di Fan. Di Fan felt that the temperature around him had dropped by several degrees. He sneered, what are you looking at? I really want to live, but that doesn't mean I'm afraid of death. If you really have the ability, just kill me, then I can still look up to you. A chosen one named Lu Wei took 2 steps forward. He stared at Di Fan coldly and said, you are just an abandoned child of the Emperor. What qualifications do you have to speak here? Di Fan immediately retorted, I'm just an abandoned pawn. Why are you talking to me? Go ahead. You're not too afraid of the Emperor, so you don't even dare to kill his abandoned pawn, right? Lu Wei's face turned green. You're really looking for death. He raised his hand, and seeing that Di Fan had no intention of dodging, he hesitated for a few seconds and put his hand down again. Forget it, you little brat, what do you know? I won't bother with you. A voice that was both familiar and unfamiliar to everyone sounded in the yard. Suppress your laughter challenge? Interesting. Where did the voice come from? Who is speaking? Everyone in the courtyard held their weapons tightly and looked around for the person who spoke. The mask on Long Yuan's face fell off automatically and floated quietly in the air. The voice just now came from the mask. This voice is... Flying Eagle pondered for a moment, and suddenly widened his eyes. Nan, brother Nafeng? The rest of the people were shocked. Nafeng? Is Nafeng out of retreat? It should be. I remember this mask belongs to Nafeng. So he saved the young master. The mask floated in the air, slowly scanning everyone. Then, Nan Feng's calm voice came out. Brother Feiying, Brother Haigu, and other friends in Longcheng, Nan, don't agree with what you just said. Like Defan said, if you can do it, you can do it. If you are really capable, you can become the second Long Wuti instead of pointing fingers at Long Yuan. Since you don't have that ability, then don't use your own ideas to interfere with Long Yuan's ideas, okay? Long Yuan stared at the mask in the air, and felt like crying. He was the young master of Longcheng, but since he was a child, the uncles and aunts of Longcheng had hardly considered his ideas. His future had been planned long ago. Everything about him had to develop in the direction that was most like Long Wuti. Those people only regarded Long Yuan as Long Wuti's shadow, not a living person. Lin Mimi gently stroked Long Yuan's head. Everyone in Longcheng looked at each other. Mad Wolf lit a cigarette, took a deep breath, and said sadly, "We don't want to interfere with Long Yuan's ideas, but before he does anything, he has to consider Longcheng first." Others followed and responded, "Yes, the Emperor's strength is comparable to that of the Dragon Army chief back then. If we offend him, it will bring great trouble to Dragon City. Long Yuan is still young, he can't afford such consequences. Long City has been working hard for more than 10 years, it can't be destroyed in our hands, nor can it be destroyed in Long Yuan's hands." The mask slowly rotated, and the empty eye sockets scanned the eyes of the crowd, making them a little panicked. Nan Feng said calmly, "The responsibilities that Long Yuan can't bear, I nan someone bear for him. The troubles that Long Yuan caused, I nan someone for him to solve. Friends of Longcheng, do you have any questions?" Xiao Luo added, "If Nan Feng can't handle it, I will." A question mark appeared on Nanfeng's head. When everyone saw Nan Feng said this, they knew that he was going to protect Long Yuan at all costs, so they stopped talking. Nan Feng waited for a moment, and when no one spoke, he said again, "There is one more thing I want to make clear to everyone in advance. Long Wuti is Long Wuti, Long Yuan is Long Yuan. Although they are father and son, they are also two independent people, and should not be compared. Of course, I didn't do well on this point, because I always compare the two of them in my heart. Everyone is here, I want to formally apologize to Xiao Long Yuan in front of everyone." Long Yuan was stunned and waved his hands in panic. No, Uncle Nan, don't do this." Nan Feng didn't care about this. He controlled the mask and bowed to Long Yuan from a distance of 108,000 miles. Then, the mask slowly rotated and faced the people of Longcheng again. The meaning was obvious. "I and Nan have apologized to Xiao Long Yuan, so why are you still standing here?" Feiying took a big sip of huazi and laughed. "Brother Nan Feng is right. We uncles are really wrong. We should protect Long Yuan instead of expecting Long Yuan to become the second leader of the Dragon Army and protect us in return." Long Yuan said quickly, "Uncle Feiying, don't say that." Nan Feng didn't pay attention to what happened next. The scene in front of him was no longer the crowded courtyard, but a cave. This was a natural cave, the deepest of which could reach more than 600 meters underground. The cave is full of twists and turns, with underground rivers, deep pits, and narrow paths that can only accommodate one person. It is quite troublesome to reach the deepest part of the cave without destroying the cave. At this time, there is a bonfire in the deepest part of the cave. There are 10 people sitting around the bonfire, and they are Mimian and others who kidnapped Long Yuan before. After releasing Long Yuan, these people went all the way south, across several cities, and hid in this cave in the deep mountains and old forests. They thought their actions were very secretive, but in fact, Nanfeng's reconnaissance aircraft had been watching their every move. About half an hour ago, Nanfeng's reconnaissance aircraft sent a picture of 2 people coming into the cave one after another, quietly approaching Mimian and others. Nan Feng didn't know the person who entered the cave in front. But the one behind was Yunfei, whom Nan Feng had been looking for half a day. Want to kill and silence him? Then I don't agree. Nan Feng had already arrived in the cave. He turned into a black shadow and shuttled through the cave. But he did not alarm the snake. He wanted to see what Yunfei was up to. Deep in the cave, next to the campfire, one of them said, "Brother Heng, do you think we will be found?" He squinted and shook his head gently. "Who knows? Anyway, let's hide for a year or half a year, and wait until the storm is over." The others nodded silently. "Okay, brothers, don't think about those things, a year will pass quickly." Mimian chuckled and said, "Yinzhou, you come and make some barbecue. I'm going to take a bath and relax." As he said that, Mimian took off his clothes and jumped into the underground river next to him. Nan Feng saw this scene and narrowed his eyes slightly. He saw that Mimian's body was densely covered with needles and threads. It was as if this body had been split into countless pieces and then sewn together. This Mimian is also a stitched monster. Chapter 867. Another stitched monster. Nanfeng is sure that this squinty-eyed man is also one of the people resurrected by Yunfei. A person resurrected by Yunfei participated in the kidnapping of Long Yuan. Combined with the previous deeds, it seems difficult for Yunfei to clear his suspicion. But why did he kidnap Long Yuan? Is it to revive Long Wudi? This is the only answer Nanfeng can think of. But this is impossible. After Long Wudi died, Xiaonan spent 5 days looking for Long Wudi's soul, but found nothing. 17 years have passed. Even if Long Wudi's soul is hiding somewhere, it must have been blown away by the wind. Without a soul, how can Yunfei revive Long Wudi? Unless he finds Long Wudi's soul. Nanfeng thought so. He pondered and decided to keep his troops on hold to see what would happen next. About 7 or 8 minutes later, the first person who entered the cave had quietly reached the deepest part of the cave and was hiding in the dark, observing the situation by the campfire. This person was dressed in black, and was a level 45 warrior, far more powerful than Mimian and others. He observed silently for a moment, and then saw Mimian emerging from the dark river. All 10 people are here. The man in black focused his eyes, and a sharp dagger appeared in his hand. Just at this time, Yunfei behind him also groped over quietly. Seeing the back of the man in black, Yunfei was slightly stunned, and then immediately took out the demon world summoning slingshot. Boom! A magic bullet hit the black-clothed man's back, and the powerful impact made him stagger. The movement here immediately attracted the attention of several people around the campfire. One of them, Yin Zhou, shouted, "Someone is coming, everyone be careful." At the same time, Yunfei also shouted at the top of his voice, "Gao Hang, Yin Zhou, you run, I deal with him." "Humph, can you run away?" The black-clothed man snorted coldly, ignoring Yunfei behind him, and rushed directly towards Mimian and others. Mimian jumped out of the dark river naked, and drew his knife to meet the man in black. Swish! The man in black was much faster than Mimian. With just one move, his dagger cut off half of Mimian's face. Hiss! Mimian took a breath of cold air, and his face skin fell off, revealing the dense needlework under the face skin. Nanfeng opened his eyes wide, and watched the scene. It turned out that this Mimian had been wearing a human skin mask. No, that's not right. It's not a human skin mask. If he was wearing a human skin mask, Nanfeng would be able to tell at a glance. The skin of this squint-eyed man was also sewn with needle and thread to cover his original face full of needle and thread, and his original face. Nanfeng has seen it many times. This squint-eyed man is the chosen one of Nancheng. Or rather, he used to be the chosen one of Nancheng. Although he is not very familiar with him, Nanfeng still remembers his face. "Gao Hang, Yanzhou." Nanfeng murmured in a low voice, "If I remember correctly, you died under the sword of Sakura Taro back then, right?" Yunfei actually resurrected them too. He can not only resurrect the natives, but also the chosen ones. "Yunfei, Yunfei, how did you do it?" The battle in the cave continued. The man in black cut off half of Gao Hang's face with a knife, then turned around and kicked Yanzhou, who came to support him. Bang! Yanzhou hit the stone wall with a dull thud. The cave shook slightly, and large and small pieces of rubble fell from above and hit the bonfire. The already dim cave became even darker. "All of you get out of the way." Yunfei was a little anxious. He fired 2 more magic bullets and hit the knees of the man in black. The man in black bent his legs and almost fell to the ground. Yunfei seized this opportunity and pounced on the man in black's back, strangling him tightly. "Hurry up, the cave is going to collapse," Yunfei said in a deep voice. Gao Hang and others looked at each other and rushed out of the cave. Anyone here is a strong man above level 40, and Yunfei and the man in black are as high as level 45. If they acted carelessly, the cave would collapse. You know, this place is more than 600 meters underground. After the cave collapsed, it would take Gao Hang and others a long time to escape. With this time, the man in black could kill them hundreds of times. So they must rush out before the cave collapses. "Want to leave? Stay here." The man in black shouted and crashed directly into the rock wall with Yunfei. Bang! The whole cave began to shake violently with this collision, and hundreds of tons of boulders from above fell down, blocking the exit tightly. "Break it," Gao Hang commanded calmly. He chopped the boulder with a knife, splitting it in half. But the boulder still blocked the passage. The cave was too narrow, and it was very troublesome for them to move the boulder. Moreover, they didn't have that much time, because the man in black came to kill him again. Die! The man in black was very fast, and Yunfei had no time to stop him. Nanfeng couldn't just watch the man in black kill Gao Hang and the others. He stopped watching the show and appeared behind the man in black. The terrifying aura made the black-clothed man's hair stand on end. Nanfeng reached out and grabbed the black-clothed man's hair, threw him over his shoulder, and threw him to the ground. Boom! Another muffled sound. A deep pit appeared under the black-clothed man, and a large number of cracks spread out in all directions. This fall made the black-clothed man dizzy and unable to get up. Nanshan? It's Nanfeng. Nanshan is here. In the dim light of the fire, everyone present could see Nanfeng's face clearly. They were a little surprised, wondering why Nanfeng could find this place. Nanfeng first slapped the man in black unconscious, then slowly turned to look at Yunfei. Didn't I tell you that if there is anything important, I will help you solve it, but you didn't want to. You see, in the end, I still have to clean up the mess. Yunfei smiled bitterly, put away the slingshot, and said, Gao Hang and the others don't want to contact us in Nancheng. In order not to expose them, I came here by myself. Don't want to contact us? Why? Nanfeng looked at Gao Hang and others in confusion also. Since you are alive, why don't you go back to Nancheng? Let me answer this question. Gao Hang sewed the human skin back on his face and regained his squinting look. He looked at Nanfeng and said, because I am not Gao Hang, or rather, I am not the Gao Hang you know. My soul was pieced together by Yunfei and Xuanqing. The main body of the soul is Gao Hang, but it is also mixed with some soul fragments of brothers such as Yanzhou and Guanji, and I also have some of their memories. From the moment I was born, I don't think I am Gao Hang. I am me, a new life. Chapter 868. A new life. Nanfeng looked at Gao Hang, and was not too surprised that he would say this. He had seen too many people who came back from the dead. For example, Sikong Buishue. He was brought out from the God-forsaken land by Suya Na. The souls in the God-forsaken land were well preserved, so Sikong Buishue was not much different from before his resurrection, and could barely be considered the same person. But even Suya Na could only do this. If the soul of the dead person is not in the God-forsaken land, then Suya Na can only make do with resurrecting him. What does make do mean? Take the Zhao family back then for example. Zhao Jiu, Zhao Yanzhua, and those Zhao family members. Under Suya Na's operation, they can be resurrected infinitely, but each resurrection is very different from the previous self. During the more than 500 years of seclusion, Nanfeng occasionally thought of these resurrected Zhao family members. Were they resurrected by Suya Na, or were they new lives created by Suya Na? It's possible. Nanfeng couldn't tell. Even a strong person like Sayana couldn't completely revive a person. Yunfei and Xuanqing, two half-baked people, couldn't do it. So when Gao Hang said he was a new life, Nanfeng was not surprised at all. I understand. Nanfeng said calmly, you all think you are new lives and have no sense of belonging to Nancheng, so you don't want to contact us? He squinted and nodded gently. Yes, our souls are spliced together, and our memories are also messy. I can't tell whether I am Gao Hang, Yanzhou, or Guanji. Yunfei stepped forward, apologetically. I'm sorry. Back then, your souls were too damaged and could be dispersed at any time. Time is running out, Xiancheng, and I can only do this much. No need to apologize. Behind him, Guanji said, strictly speaking, it was you and Xiancheng who created us and gave us life. You don't need to apologize to us. Yanzhou snorted coldly. I don't want such a life. Our souls are spliced, our bodies are broken, and we can't even be too far away from each other, otherwise there is a risk of our souls being torn apart. It's better to die than to live like this. Back then, after Gao Hang and others died, Yunfei urgently contacted Xiancheng and worked with him to find a way to revive these companions. But at that time, they were all half-baked. They were already in a mess to combine the lifeless body and the soul that was about to drift away. How could they do it so perfectly? But for Gao Hang and others who are new, do they really want to live like this? A body stitched together with needles and thread. A soul pieced together. Confused memories. And the 10 of them cannot be too far apart, otherwise there is a risk of their souls being torn apart. Yunfei and Xiancheng did give them life, but at the same time, they also gave them a hopeless future. It's like a young couple who are good at smoking, drinking, and dancing. As a result, the child they gave birth to was a deformed child with 1 leg and 3 eyes, and was laughed at by his peers every day. Such children will be full of complaints against their parents, and they would rather die than live. Gao Hang and others were like this at this time. So in the second year after resurrection, The 10 of them left quietly, and no longer contacted Yunfei. The atmosphere in the cave was a little awkward. Yunfei opened his mouth stammeringly, not knowing what to say. Nanfeng whispered, "I don't care whether you are Gao Hang or Yin Zhou, anyway, the gate of Nancheng will be open to you. If you are tired of staying outside, you are welcome to come back. Don't forget your no Gao Hang, Yin Zhou Guanji. Their parents and relatives are still in Nancheng." Mimi Yin and others looked at Nanfeng in surprise. One of the important reasons why they have been wandering outside for more than 10 years is that they are afraid that the people in Nancheng will not accept them, and that their parents will see what they are like now. "Thank you, God of the South," Mimi Yin said seriously. 90% of Mimi Yin's soul comes from Gao Hang, and the remaining 10% comes from others. In fact, deep down in his heart, he still felt that he and Gao Hang had an inseparable relationship, otherwise, he would not have kept using the name Gao Hang. "Okay, let's put this aside for now." Nanfeng spoke and changed the subject. "Now let's talk about why you kidnapped Long Yuan. Yunfei, you go first." Me?" Yunfei widened his eyes and said in panic, "No, I was not the one who kidnapped Long Yuan. Let me answer this question." Squinting eyes said again, "The person who kidnapped Long Yuan was not Yunfei, but a man called Hades Lord." Nanfeng raised his eyebrows. "Hades Lord? Where did this monster come from? With such a cool nickname, is he very strong?" Squinting eyes thought for a while, and shook his head. "I don't know how strong he is, because I have never seen him. For more than 10 years, we have been wandering outside, and making a living by taking on various tasks. Hades Lord often posts some tasks on the black market, and is generous, so he can be regarded as our big employer. A few days ago, we received another mission from the Hades Lord. He asked us to pick up someone on the beach west of Wuhai City. The reward for this mission was very high. The Hades Lord gave us 2 billion, of which 1 billion was given to the water-shaped phantom Qianwei, and the other 1 billion was kept by us. At that time, the news that the young master of Longcheng was kidnapped had spread to most of the primitive world. I realized that the person the Hades Lord wanted us to pick up was very likely Long Yuan, so I secretly told Yunfei the news. Hearing this, Nanfeng roughly understood what happened and murmured, "So that's how it is." No wonder Yunfei knew that Qianwei kidnapped Long Yuan, and no wonder he was waiting here in Wuhai City. But Nanfeng still frowned and looked at Yunfei. "Since you have the information, why don't you tell Xiao Luo?" Yunfei apologized and said, "Because I dare not expose Gao Hang and others, I dare not expose my ability to revive the dead. In recent years, I have noticed that someone in Longcheng is secretly investigating me. They seem to want me to revive Long Wudi. Resurrecting Long Wudi." Nanfeng's eyes condensed, and he said in a deep voice, "Who is investigating you? Lin Mimi." "Not Lin Mimi." Yunfei said with certainty. "She knew a long time ago that I could resurrect the dead. And she also asked me to keep it a secret and not reveal this ability. She told me she didn't know how crazy those people in Longcheng would do to resurrect Long Wudi. Most of the 200,000 chosen ones in Longcheng are Long Wudi's fans. If they were told that Long Wudi had a chance to be resurrected, they would really do something crazy. Lin Mimi knows that you can revive the dead." Nanfeng whispered, "Is it possible that she is the lord of the underworld?" Yunfei lowered his head and pondered for a while, then shook his head and said, "Probably not. Back then, after I came back from the Eternal Night Sea, I went to find Lin Mimi as soon as possible. I told her that if I could find the soul of Long Juanshou, I would have a chance to revive him. And the soul of the Dragon Army Chief. I think it is in Long Yuan's body. Lin Mimi rejected me at that time, and she told me that she would never joke with Long Yuan's life. In the following 10 years, she never mentioned this matter again. If she really wanted to revive Long Wudi, she wouldn't have to wait until now. It makes sense." Nanfeng breathed a sigh of relief. "It's good that it's not Lin Mimi." Nanfeng was really a little scared, afraid that in the end, the person who wanted to kill little Long Yuan was his biological mother. That little Long Yuan is too miserable. Even if the Underworld Lord is Feying, Crazy Wolf, and the others, I can accept it. Nanfeng thought to himself, as long as it's not Lin Mimi. If the Underworld Lord is Lin Mimi, then Nanfeng really doesn't know what to do. At this point, the situation is already very clear. The person who kidnapped Long Yuan is the Underworld Lord, who may or may not be someone inside Longcheng. But there must be a traitor inside Longcheng. This is beyond doubt. Now we just need to find the Underworld Lord and the traitor inside Longcheng. Even if this matter is resolved, Nanfeng can do his own thing with peace of mind. Nanfeng looked at Mimi again and asked, "According to the requirements of the mission, Where will you take Long Yuan after you pick him up? Mimian replied, I don't know. The Lord of the Underworld asked us to take Long Yuan on board, and the ship will take us to our destination. Nanfeng thought of the big ship parked on the beach, engraved with runes. No wonder no one came to destroy the ship. It turned out to be useful. I was wondering, how could the person behind the scenes leave such an obvious clue on the beach? Nanfeng thought to himself. But this clue is now broken. Even if Nanfeng restarts the ship, the Lord of the Underworld will not wait for him there. But it doesn't matter, Nanfeng still has a clue. He lowered his head, looked at the man in black under his feet, and slapped him. Get up and talk. In fact, the man in black had woken up a long time ago, and he had been lying on the ground pretending to be dead. Nanfeng's slap knocked out half of his teeth, and he screamed in pain. Nanfeng. The man in black stared at Nanfeng fiercely. Kill me. The Lord of Hell will not let you go. Nanfeng raised his eyebrows with interest and said, Oh, it seems that your Lord of Hell is very powerful. Where is his home? Show me the way, I will go to meet him now. The man in black immediately shut up and said nothing. Nanfeng pulled off the mask on the man in black's face and asked Yunfei, Come and see, do you know this guy? Yunfei stared at the man in black's face for a long time and shook his head, No. Gao Heng also added, I don't know him either. He is a level 45 warrior after all. Isn't there any information about him in the intelligence database of Nancheng? Nanfeng was a little unhappy. What has Su Zuran been doing these years? Slacking off, right? Yunfei said awkwardly, During the 17 years you were in seclusion, Su Zuran only gave himself 26 days off, 17 of which were during the spring festival. Nanfeng, Well, he is worthy of being the acting city lord appointed by me, Nan. Look, how dedicated he is. Give him a raise when we get back. No, give him shares directly. Yunfei explained again. Since the death of the dragon army leader, the concentration of magic in this world has increased a lot. Especially in recent years, level 45 masters have emerged like mushrooms after rain. Roughly estimated, there are at least 800 level 45 masters now, if not 1,000. No matter how hard our intelligence team tries, there is no way to record everyone's information. It's outrageous. After 17 years of seclusion, there are level 45 masters everywhere. Times change so fast, it's hard to be prepared. Nanfeng said, Take him back. Let Su Zuran find out who he is with. The man in black sneered. He was missing more than half of his teeth, and his words were a little leaky. Humph, give up. I have always been with the Lord of the Underworld, never showed up. You can't find out. Nanfeng shrugged indifferently. If you can't find out, then you can't find out. I have plenty of ways to make you talk. Have you heard of the 10 cruel punishments of the Qing dynasty? The man in black raised his head, looking ready to die. Torture? Ha, do you think I'm afraid? No one can pry open my mouth. Lord of the Underworld, Song Chung. Nanfeng and Yunfei looked at each other. This word Song Chung revealed too much information. The running dog of Bang Bang Country? Nanfeng narrowed his eyes and chuckled. Interesting. As he said that, Nanfeng reached out and snatched the dagger from the man in black. A large amount of magic power poured into the dagger, crowding out and eroding the divine power in it. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes. Finally, a trace of Nanfeng's magic power squeezed into the divine power contained in the dagger. Crack. A slight crack appeared on the surface of the dagger. The black-clothed man's face changed, and he felt that the magic power in his body was rapidly declining. What did you do? The black-clothed man shouted in fear. His level began to drop rapidly, and in just a few minutes, he dropped to level 39. In just a moment, the black-clothed man seemed to have aged 200 years. Well, this way, we don't have to worry about him counterattacking before he dies. Nanfeng nodded with satisfaction. Yunfei, take him back to Nancheng and torture him. Torture? Why not interrogate? The man in black trembled. He is only level 39 now, and he can't stand those tortures. Nanfeng made his right hand into a pistol shape and blew up the boulder blocking the road with one shot. He said to Gao Heng and others, If you want to go back to Nancheng, I still say, you are welcome at any time. Gao Heng and the others looked at each other, and nodded slightly. I go first, you guys chat slowly. Nanfeng's figure flashed, and disappeared into the dim underground cave. The cave fell into a long silence. After a long time, Gao Heng nodded slightly to Yunfei, and left the cave with the other 9 people. Yunfei watched them leave silently without saying a word. Meteoric Empire, Imperial Capital, Imperial Palace. A man in black burned out his blood and flew back to Meteoric Empire from Haiyue Empire in a very short time. Report? The man in black landed outside the imperial palace and shouted, "I have something important to report to the emperor. Let me in." Chapter 869. I want to see the emperor. Let me in. The man in black had disheveled hair and was wrinkled all over, like a living mummy. If you didn't know, you would think he had just crawled out of a mass grave. The guard outside the gate of the imperial palace looked at him coldly and shouted angrily, "The imperial palace is a forbidden area. No outsiders are allowed to enter. Get out." The man in black staggered forward 2 steps, trying to force his way into the imperial palace. The guard kicked him hundreds of meters away with a flying kick. The man in black rolled on the ground dozens of times, and his body, which was about to burn out of blood, could no longer hold on. He struggled to get up, knelt on the ground, and cowed out 3 times in the direction of the imperial palace. Then, the man in black used up the last bit of magic power in his body and shouted, "Report to the emperor. His Highness Emperor Fan was attacked, and the attacker was the chosen one Nafeng." Deep in the imperial palace, in the emperor's bedroom, the emperor, who was dozing, heard the word Nafeng and slightly opened his eyes. "Nafeng? Are you finally out of retreat? I have been waiting for you for a long time." The emperor appeared at the gate of the imperial palace in a blink of an eye, and came to the man in black. "Where is Daifan?" the emperor asked calmly. The man in black raised his head tremblingly, and looked at the tall figure in front of him. This was the first time he saw the emperor in person, and also the last time. The man in black gritted his teeth and said loudly, "We fought to protect His Highness, but the gap in strength was too big. All the guards have died in the battle, and His Highness Daifan was also captured by Nafeng." The emperor chuckled. "In other words, he is still alive?" This calm tone made the man in black feel cold all over. They did not complete the task of killing Daifan, and the emperor was very unhappy. If the emperor was unhappy, then their 9 clans would not be safe. The man in black was not afraid of death, because he had burned out his blood and only had his last breath left, and he could not live even if he wanted to. But he wanted his family to live, and let those dead brothers and their families live too. The man in black cried and said, "We failed to protect His Highness Daifan and let him fall into the hands of the thieves. Please forgive us, Your Majesty. Please forgive us, Your Majesty." The emperor's face was cold, and he slowly said, "Who did you say just now was the thief who took Daifan away?" The man in black was stunned for a moment, and then he immediately reacted. It was the chosen one Nafeng. The man in black used his remaining magic power to shout, "The chosen one Nafeng, together with the high-ranking officials of the Haoyue Empire, kidnapped His Highness Daifan. I suspect that the Haoyue Empire has joined forces with the chosen one to attack our Meteorite Empire." After saying this, the blood and magic power in his body completely burned out. The man in black slowly fell to the ground, staring at the emperor with wide eyes. "Humph." The emperor snorted, "Haoyue Empire, dare to kidnap our prince, you are looking for death." After that, the emperor looked at the man in black on the ground coldly. "The thief is too strong, you failed to protect Daifan, I don't blame you. Come on, bury him with honor, and his descendants will be rewarded." Hearing this, the man in black raised his mouth slightly and smiled. The emperor's words are golden, and since he said such words, he will never regret it. Not only did his family save their lives, but they were also able to receive a large pension, which was great. The man in black slowly closed his eyes and died. In just half a day, what happened at the gate of the imperial palace spread throughout the streets and alleys of the Falling Sun Empire. Have you heard about it? His Highness Daifan was captured. It was done by the Haoyue Empire. What? How do you know? You didn't watch the live broadcast tonight? Falling Sun News, the official program, reported it. I heard that more than 200 guards who protected His Highness Daifan died, and the only guard who escaped back died of his injuries after reporting the incident. Has the Haoyue Empire gone crazy? They don't take the emperor seriously. Now that the relationship between the two countries is so tense, His Highness Daifan shouldn't go to the Haoyue Empire to study. It's too dangerous. The Haoyue Empire is so arrogant. If it were you, we should beat them up. This matter is not that simple. The Chosen One is also involved. So what if the Chosen One is involved? With the Emperor here, the Chosen One will die. The discussion in the streets and alleys intensified. Many people even organized themselves and marched in the streets, asking the Emperor to send troops to attack the Haoyue Empire. They didn't know that the Emperor had already prepared for it. The army of the Fallen Sun Empire had already stationed at the border between the two countries 3 months ago. What the Emperor was waiting for was an excuse to start a war. Inside the Imperial Palace, a guard was reporting what happened in the streets today. The people I sent out secretly instigated the people to march in major cities, and the effect was very good. I believe that by tomorrow, there will be more people marching, and the team will be even stronger," said the guard. The emperor raised his eyelids and glanced at him. Incitement? Didn't they organize it spontaneously? Cold sweat broke out on the guard's forehead. "Your Majesty is wise. It is indeed the people who organized the march spontaneously." The emperor waved his hand. "Okay, go down." The guard hurriedly said, "Yes, I will take my leave." After the guard left, the emperor was the only one left in the palace. He quietly looked at the bright moon outside the window, and said in his heart, "There is no rush to attack the Haoyue Empire. We can let public opinion ferment for a few more days to build momentum. I should go meet Nanfeng first. It's been 17 years, and the teacher has been waiting for me to avenge Yuan." In the imperial palace, in a hidden side hall, the dying imperial teacher Tianyuan lay quietly on the bed. At this moment, he was almost like a vegetable, unable to move or speak, and could only barely make an ah-ah sound. In fact, Tianyuan should have died long ago, but he still had an obsession in his heart. He wanted to see the emperor kill Nanfeng with his own hands, and avenge Yuan before dying. Therefore, in recent years, Tianyuan has been relying on various natural treasures to survive. Even so, he can't live for too long. If Nanfeng doesn't come out again, the emperor will definitely kill Nanfeng in Nancheng before Tianyuan dies to force Nanfeng to show up. Nanfeng, I have given you enough time. I hope you won't let me down." The emperor stood up and walked slowly towards the direction of Haoyue Empire. Outside the 9 heavens, a huge corpse appeared out of thin air. He opened his eyes, as big as planets, and stared indifferently in the direction of Wuhai City. Chapter 870. Outside Wuhai City, in a small town about 80 kilometers northwest. The town is very lively tonight. In addition to the indigenous people, many people came from Longcheng and Nancheng. Everyone gathered here to celebrate the discovery of Long Yuan and the release of Nanfeng. Ha ha ha, Nanshan. Huang Yuanming saw Nanfeng from a distance, ran over, and gave Nanfeng a bear hug. "You finally came out of seclusion. I haven't seen you for so many years. You seem to have some wrinkles." Nanfeng laughed and scolded, "Get lost. I was just kidding. Huang Yuanming laughed. "You must be exhausted after being in seclusion for so long, right? I invite you to my shop for a foot massage later. It's comfortable." Nanfeng pondered. "Is it formal?" Huang Yuanming patted his chest. "Of course." Nanfeng gave a thumbs up. "Then I won't go." Huang Yuanming, Uncle Huang. Long Yuan came over and asked in a low voice, "Can I go?" "You little brat, how did you get kidnapped? You've been worrying me for days." Huang Yuanming said, punching Long Yuan on the shoulder. "You've suffered a lot these days, haven't you? Okay, I give you a good foot massage later to relax you." "Yeah." Long Yuan cheered with his fist. "No." Lin Mimi came over and said softly, "Long Yuan is still young and can't go to that kind of place. Come here, Yuaner, let's get ready for dinner." "Oh." Long Yuan immediately became depressed and followed Lin Mimi into the yard. "No, sister-in-law, what do you mean by that?" Huang Yuanming shouted, "My foot massage shop is very formal, and there are only male technicians inside." In Shifei's yard, more than a dozen large tables almost filled up the small yard. Yunfei was surrounded by a large group of people, listening to him tell the origin of this town. After the Battle of Wuhai City, countless civilians in the city were killed and injured. I asked Xuanqun to collect those relatively intact souls, put them into the corresponding bodies, and resurrect them. But there are all kinds of problems with people who are resurrected like this. In order to prevent them from becoming aliens in the eyes of others, I built a small town here and settled them here. That's about it. Yunfei explained. Wu Yuansheng, you are awesome, doing great things quietly. Why didn't you tell your brothers about this kind of thing in advance? Su Ming, that's right. You can actually resurrect the dead. It's amazing. Xiaoan ran. I think Xuanqing has made a greater contribution. Flying Eagle, in other words, everyone in this town has come back to life? Mad Wolf, what problems will arise with people who are resurrected like this? Everyone asked all kinds of questions. At the edge, Xiao Luo put his hands behind his back and whispered, Is Yunfei okay? Nanfeng also whispered, Should be okay. Xiao Luo, he has kept the secret of being able to resurrect the dead hidden for so long. Why is he telling it now? You asked him to tell it. Nanfeng nodded. Yes, I just took this opportunity to see who has a problem. Nanfeng's eyes swept across the crowd. The brothers in Nancheng were all in a normal state. They did not show much interest in Yunfei's ability to revive the dead. But the chosen ones in Longcheng were asking questions about resurrection intentionally or unintentionally. It was obvious that in their hearts, they all wanted to revive Long Wudi. It was just that no one said it in public. Xiao Luo. Nanfeng whispered, write down everyone present tonight, and ask Su Zuran to investigate secretly later. Xiao Luo nodded gently. Nanfeng thought for a moment and added, investigate Nancheng as well. Xiao Luo raised his eyebrows slightly. Who do you suspect? Nanfeng. No one. I check it to make sure. Xiao Luo. Okay. By the way, have you heard of the Lord of the Underworld? Nanfeng asked. No. Xiao Luo shook his head. I haven't left Nancheng in the past 7 years, so I don't know much about the outside world. Nanfeng felt a little regretful. Okay, then I can only spend some more time to find him out. Brother. Xiaonan came over with a cup of milk tea, jumping and skipping. Would you like to try my new tea? Nanfeng refused without waiting for Xiaonan to finish his words. Thank you, I'm allergic to milk tea. Xiaonan rolled his eyes and took a big sip. Forget it. In the yard, Yunfei began to introduce his technique of suturing corpses. He invited the suturing monster Agui next door to help him explain. Come on, everyone, look over here. Yunfei said excitedly, this man is called Agui, and when he died, his body was broken into several pieces. Normally, I would not revive him in this situation, but Xuanqing found his soul, and it was well preserved. So I tried my best to sew up his body, and the missing parts were replaced with other people's bodies. This kind of sewed-up body needs to be specially processed first. You can see that there is no blood in his body. Yunfei talked endlessly. In fact, he had always wanted to share this knowledge, but he didn't dare to before. After all, this was taboo knowledge about resurrection. Once it was spread out, who knew what kind of uproar it would cause, but now he is not afraid. With Nanfeng's approval, he can speak freely if there is any problem. Nanfeng listened carefully to Yunfei's story. Suddenly, he asked Xiaonan, Xiaonan, do you think these people in the town are resurrected from the dead or a new life? What a profound question. Xiaonan thought, it depends on what they think, right? Some people think it is resurrection, some people think it is a new life, it can't be generalized. Xiao Luo also participated in the discussion. It depends on the completeness of their souls. The soul stores memories. The more complete the soul, the more complete the memory. Only when you have complete memories can you be considered resurrected. It makes sense. Nanfeng pondered for a moment and asked again, if one day, I find Long Wudi's soul, do you think I should resurrect him? Xiaonan was surprised and asked, Long Wudi's soul is likely to have dissipated, where can you find it? Nanfeng laughed, I mean if. That depends on you. Xiaonan said calmly, not caring much about whether Long Wudi could be resurrected. She had seen through the separation of life and death. However, Xiaonan still said, if you really want to revive Long Wudi, I suggest you learn Soyana's resurrection method. Yunfei's is too rough. Nanfeng and Xiao Luo looked at Yunfei, only to see that he had removed Agui's hands and feet, and was introducing its internal structure to everyone. It's really a bit rough. Nanfeng and Xiao Luo nodded in agreement. Then, the three of them looked up at the sky at the same time in tacit understanding. They saw a pair of planet-sized eyes staring at them from the sky. Chapter 871. The eyes outside the 9 heavens were cold and emotionless, like a god. It's the Emperor. Xiao Luo said, he's coming. As Xiao Luo's voice fell, a figure appeared outside the town. He was wearing a Qilin robe, walking calmly and majestically, and walked slowly into the town. It's lively here. The Emperor smiled and looked at Nanfeng and the other two. If I ruin this happy family scene, it would seem that I am unkind. Nanfeng made a gesture of invitation. Since you don't want to disrupt, then join us. It's just a matter of adding a pair of chopsticks. The Emperor shook his head. Forget it. I'm here. They may not be able to let go. In the yard, the dozen or so tables of chosen from Longcheng and Nancheng had already noticed the Emperor's arrival. They looked tense, watching the situation here nervously. Once they found that the Emperor was about to take action, they would teleport and escape at the fastest speed. Di Fan took 2 deep breaths, stood up, and walked out of the yard. Where are you going? Long Yuan held his shoulder. The Emperor is here to see me. Di Fan explained, if I go with him, he might not make things difficult for you. Don't worry, let's see what happens first. Long Yuan said softly, my Aunt Nan is here too. If the Emperor wants to take you away, he has to ask if my Aunt Nan agrees. Who is your Aunt Nan? Di Fan was a little confused. He had always thought that among the chosen, except for the famous Xiao Luo and Nanfeng, no one else could be a match for the Emperor. But from what Long Yuan said, the Ant Nan he mentioned seems to be more powerful than Sword Saint Xiao Luo and the Lord of Nancheng. Long Yuan saw Di Fan's doubts, and he explained proudly, Hee, you don't understand this. Everyone thinks that my master is invincible in the world, and only Emperor Zun can fight him. But the fact is not so. My Aunt Nan is the real invincible in the world. She can punch the god of creation. Di Fan looked at Long Yuan calmly. After hearing the 5 words punched the god of creation, he seemed to feel that the wrinkles of his cerebral cortex were instantly smoothed out. Where did the gods come from in this world? Is he the god of creation? This Long Yuan must be mentally retarded, right? No wonder he dared to save me. No wonder he dared to be the enemy of Emperor Zun. Outside the courtyard, Emperor Zun looked at Nan Feng with a haughty expression. This time, I came to find you. Looking for me? Nan Feng raised his eyebrows slightly, and understood after a little thought. You want to kill me and avenge Di Yuan? Yes. Emperor Zun nodded. This matter has been dragging on for more than 10 years. It's time to end it. It's time to end it. Nan Feng murmured in a low voice. Not just this matter, but all matters should be ended. How about a battle in the outer world? The Emperor said proudly, if you are afraid, you can let them fight together. I can fight 3 alone. Xiaonan waved her hands repeatedly. You fight your own, it has nothing to do with me. She drank milk tea and skipped into the yard, not worrying at all whether Nan Feng would be beaten to death by the Emperor. Xiaonan said a long time ago that she would only protect Nan Feng until level 47. After level 47, if Nan Feng died in the hands of others, it was because he was not as skilled as others, and Xiaonan would not help him. She had no way to help him, because in order to defeat a level 47 strongman, Xiaonan had to fuse the 9 stones, but that would attract his attention, and the final result would still be death. Xiaonan did not intervene at all in the battle between Long Wudi and Soya Na, and this was also the reason. Of course, this was just Xiaonan's cognition. In fact, Xiaonan had never escaped his attention, and he did not care whether Xiaonan used all his strength. As long as you haven't become a god, even if you are a peak level 48 warrior to him, you are no different from a dead dog on the roadside. He treats everyone equally. Seeing Xiaonan leave, the Emperor looked at Xiao Luo. What about you? Xiao Luo didn't answer, but looked at Nan Feng. Nan Feng waved his hand. It's a bit too much for the 2 of us to team up and beat up a centenarian. I fight him one-on-one. Xiao Luo nodded slightly after hearing this, turned around and walked into the courtyard. The Emperor chuckled and said, You are brave enough to fight me one-on-one. It's worth the time I gave you to practice in seclusion. Speaking of this, Nan Feng asked curiously, If you want to avenge Di Yuan, you could have come to Nancheng to force me to show up a long time ago. Why do you have to wait for me to come out of seclusion? The Emperor said, I gave you enough time because I want you to face me with your best strength. Only by fighting with the strongest can I go further. Go further. Nan Feng looked at the Emperor and said, If you win this battle, you can break through level 48, right? Of course. The Emperor nodded and looked at Nan Feng. You and I are both only 1 step away from level 48, and all we have to do is this battle. Nan Feng asked him, Do you know what you will encounter after the breakthrough? The Emperor nodded. Of course I know. I have met Siana. She is waiting for us at level 48. Nan Feng, are you sure you can beat Siana? The Emperor, I am fearless. Nan Feng laughed. I am fearless too. The 2 looked at each other, and could feel the confidence in each other's heart. No matter who among them broke through to level 48, they were confident that they could defeat Siana. 3 days later. Nan Feng said, Let's set this battle in 3 days. I still have some things to do first. Emperor nodded, Okay. Emperor was a decisive person. After setting the time, he did not stay any longer, and returned to the imperial palace immediately. He wanted to use these 3 days to adjust himself to the peak state and fight Nan Feng. There are still 3 days. Nan Feng looked back at the yard, and then disappeared. The people in the yard were a little confused, wondering why the 2 people suddenly disappeared. They didn't go to the sky to fight? Nan Feng didn't have dinner in the town. He came to the beach east of Wuhai City, and found the big ship stranded there. He waved his hand lightly, and pushed the ship into the sea. As soon as it landed, the big ship slowly rotated, finally chose a direction, and began to sail. What a great unmanned driving technology. Nan Feng used magic to create a reconnaissance plane, and followed the big ship from a distance, wanting to see where it would go. So many days have passed, the Lord of the Underworld must have moved to another place to hide. This ship is of no use, and Nan Feng did not expect it to find the Lord of the Underworld. The real breakthrough is the man in black, who was caught during the day. Afterwards, Nanfeng's figure flashed and appeared in the South City. Nanfeng wanted to interrogate the man in black. The man in black should be the confidant of the Lord of the Underworld. He must know a lot of information, and even know the exact identity of the Lord of the Underworld. The breakthrough must be opened from him. Chapter 872. The next morning, the meteoric morning news of the meteoric empire announced something that was enough to shock the whole country. Today's headlines. 3-day appointment. The Emperor and Nanfeng will fight in the sky in 3 days, and the whole process will be broadcast live. The people who were still discussing how to attack the Haoyue Empire last night were immediately attracted by this big news. Oh my god, the Emperor and Nanfeng have an appointment to fight, and the whole process is broadcast live. Let me ask, who is this Nanfeng? A battle of this level can only be fought in Tianwai, otherwise this continent may be sunk. I heard that Nanfeng and Haoyue Empire have joined forces. The Emperor is going to uproot them. Who is Nanfeng? How dare he fight the Emperor? No, can you tell me who Nanfeng is first? Great minds think alike. I also think Nanfeng is not very good. If it were Sword Saint Xiaoluo, he might really be able to fight the Emperor for 300 rounds. Nanfeng? Such a familiar name, seems to be a chosen one as well? You don't even know who Nanfeng is? 17 years ago, he was also a prominent figure among the chosen ones. 17 years ago? Oh, I was wondering why I had never heard of this name. I wasn't even born 17 years ago. What are you doing here, little brat, instead of going to school? Do you think the Emperor will kill Nanfeng in 1 second? Well, it's hard to say. He dares to challenge the Emperor, so I think he is quite capable. He should be able to last 2 or 3 rounds, right? This battle is live broadcast. Being able to watch such a battle between strong men, I will definitely break through level 20 today. You are not even level 20, you can't understand anything. In the streets and alleys of the Falling Sun Empire, people began to discuss the battle between Emperor Zun and Nanfeng. In casinos of all sizes and black markets, the odds were also opened. The attack on the Haoyue Empire was temporarily put on hold, and only a small number of people remembered it at this time, and they were still marching. The Haoyue Empire kidnapped His Highness Di Fan, and they should be executed. Hey, what are you doing? His Highness Di Fan is missing. You don't want to think of a solution, but only care about this battle. His Highness Di Fan, feed me peanuts. Such a big event naturally reached the ears of the Chosen at the first time. Cross-World Chat Channel, it is much more lively than the Falling Sun Empire. Miles Solomon. The world has suffered from the Emperor for a long time. Nanfeng, you must kill him. Cui Yongjun. When did Nanfeng come out of seclusion? Archie. The Emperor is very powerful, and Nanfeng, don't underestimate the enemy. Nanfeng, the person involved, did not show up in the chat channel. He was trying his best to pry open the mouth of the man in black. The man in black laughed with blood in his mouth. Is this all you have? This is what you call torture? It's really disappointing. Nanfeng took the pliers, and pulled out the fingernails of the man in black one by one. But the man in black was like nothing happened, not afraid at all. Nanfeng scratched his head. Damn, these 10 tortures don't work, so I can only torture ordinary people. If you meet a strong man, with a little strength, you can bear this kind of pain. Laugh, 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 laugh at your toothless horse? Nanfeng wanted to slap the man in black, but was afraid that he would die with one slap. What a fragile life. Duh. Footsteps sounded outside the dungeon, and Yunfei walked in. He looked around, saw the scene in the cell clearly, and smiled. Nanshin, you haven't interrogated him yet? Nanfeng shrugged helplessly and said, this guy is quite stubborn, a little difficult to deal with. Yunfei pondered, how about I give it a try? Nanfeng looked at him. Can you do it? I have tried even the 10 tortures. The 10 tortures are useless. Yunfei walked in front of the man in black, raised his chin with his hand, and said coldly, I will only give you 3 chances. Tell me, who is the Lord of the Underworld? Pa! The man in black spat a mouthful of blood foam at Yunfei's face. Fortunately, Yunfei reacted quickly and dodged in time. You let me tell you, so I will. Who do you think you are? The man in black sneered, if you have the guts, come and torture me. Cut the meat, remove the bones, pull the tendons, and see if I can bear it? Yunfei shook his head gently. You have already used up 1 chance, and now there are 2 chances left. Yunfei walked out of the dungeon and said to the guards at the door, Go, everyone, find a big and fat sow. The man in black heard this and his face changed slightly, but soon smiled and said, You can't handle me, and you want a sow to handle me? Ha ha, it turns out that you are not even as good as sows. So funny, ha ha ha. Yun Fei said nothing and took out a series of tools from his backpack. Scalpel, tweezers, forceps, scissors, gauze, soul-calling banners. Since you know Gao Hang, you should know my ability. Yun Fei lit an alcohol lamp and roasted the scalpel on the fire. Do you know how to revive the dead? To put it simply, it is to put the soul into the body. The man in black snorted coldly. What? You want to kill me, revive me, and kill me again? Will this cycle continue endlessly? Haha, I'm not afraid. Come on, do it. Yun Fei still shook his head. That's too childish. You are a man, and death can't pry open your mouth. The man in black raised his head. It's good to know. So, I have to use another method. Yun Fei said softly. Just at this time, the guards brought a big and fat sow. Hum hum. The sow made pig noises and sniffed around. It smelled the blood on the man in black and rushed over to take a big bite of him. And right in front of the sow was the little ding-ding of the man in black. You? The man in black's face changed slightly, and he had guessed what would happen next. Boom! Suddenly, Yun Fei knocked on the pig's head, and the sow died on the spot. This scene stunned the man in black and Nan Feng. What a good sow! Why did you kill it? What do you want to ask? Yun Fei held the soul-calling flag in his left hand, and the scalpel in his right hand, showing a cold smile. Do you know what will happen to this sow if it is placed in a pigpen full of breeding pigs? It will be ravaged 10,000 times 10,000 times. What if I put your soul in the body of this sow? As he said this, Yun Fei stabbed the man in black in the heart. Don't be afraid, after you die, I will immediately call back your soul and put it in the sow, so that you can live again. When you think it through, want to talk, and are no longer stubborn, I will bring your soul back. The man in black turned pale.